is fathers.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. And I'm sorry about that. And I hope that you're doing okay. Christ have mercy.
Of course, it was a political debate, and both Walz and Vance landed punches. And at one point, even forced CBS News moderators to mute the microphones.
Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status. Sure. Temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret, you. The rules were that you guys were going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for explaining the legal process.
Question after any VP debate is the same. Does it matter for voters still undecided about the top of the tickets?
The takeaway of this debate, it was civil. It was policy focused. It was substantive. It's not the kind of debate we're used to seeing in the Donald Trump era.
Josh Krausauer is Fox News Radio political analyst.
There was a lot of, you could even see J.D. Vance and Tim Walz talking a little bit after the debate, shaking hands. We could use a little more of this in politics. And it frankly played against both candidates' type during this presidential campaign. I mean, you saw Tim Walz, who retailed the attack on J.D. Vance as being weird, praising him on numerous occasions throughout the debate, finding areas of agreement on policy, on a whole host of issues, childcare, trying to reach out to working class voters. That is something you don't see an awful lot in this campaign. And look, J.D. Vance, whose favorability numbers going into the debate are about as bad as it gets for her running mate. He's been playing to the base. He has not been playing to the more independent, moderate-minded voters who are still trying to make up their minds. This was a kinder, gentler J.D. Vance. It was a more softer version of what we've seen on the campaign trail. I think it's a recognition that both he knew he had a lot to show a lot of those undecided voters, but he also showed off his debating chops. I think he ultimately came out the winner of the debate by having a command of the issues and making the best case possible for Donald Trump's agenda.
I mean, it seemed, especially right out of the gate, that Governor Tim Walz did seem a little nervous. He misspoke a couple of times on the initial question about the Iran strikes in Israel. That being said, he seemed to find his footing a little bit as the debate moved on. But to your point, there was a lot of common ground reached. The two of them, almost got to the point where it seemed like they were going to say, oh, let's just, agree to disagree and, get a beer afterwards. That has to have been by design, right? Both campaigns, candidates had to think that there was some benefit to sort of those moderate, middle of the road voters, that neither of them kind of, look too extreme one way or the other.
Perhaps by design. I think it was much more designed on the behalf of J.D. Vance. Look, Tim Walz needed to make the case against Donald Trump. This is the guy that came up with all the great slogans about the ticket being weird and about what was we believe in freedom and all those catchy, sometimes corny lines that Tim Walz retailed on the convention stage a couple months ago. He didn't hear much of that at the debate. In fact, it sounded like he was almost more in agreement with Donald Trump than he was in disagreement on a whole host of issues. So that was a missed opportunity. I mean, I think you're going to have some Democrats a little frustrated with Tim Walz's performance, not because he was a little nervous. And then, yes, he did stumble over a few points on Iran and on school shootings. There was he misspoke on a few occasions. But I think the bigger problem for Democrats with Tim Walz's performance is that he just did not litigate the case against Donald Trump, and that's what the running mate should be doing at the debate stage.
It did seem that the case that he tried to litigate the most, and certainly it came up towards the tail end of the debate, was this idea about defending democracy, about January 6th, about whether or not the former president and Senator Vance still believe that, the 2020 election was stolen. He said that there was a non-answer from Vance. That's still an issue that has resonated, maybe not as much as it used to, but still resonates with voters. Was that an opportunity that again, has the potential to move voters, to reinforce kind of what people may think about a Trump-Vance ticket?
Yeah, look, I thought that was Tim Walz's strongest moment, litigating the case about Donald Trump's behavior on January 6th. That doesn't need, it's been said many times, but he did make the argument in a very homespun way, a very effective way, and J.D. Vance avoided. I think he was talking about censorship when we were talking about January 6th.
Sort of
look, that was at the end of the debate.
The push, like that, have Facebook and
for
Twitter
social media
crack
companies
down on, comments and mis and disinformation.
Yeah. I mean, it was a non sequitur to the actual argument of what actually happened on January 6th and why Trump does not acknowledge the results of the 2020 election. That said, look, if you look at talk to your average voter, that is not the people who are voting on that issue are already voting for Kamala Harris. It's not going to really move the needle at all. And the fact that it was at the very end of the debate only underscores the fact that this election is going to be decided on issues like the economy, immigration, even foreign policy, national security, which was the top question. That for better or for worse, that is a distant memory. And even the J.D. Vance line that we're looking forward. We're not looking backwards. I mean, that's a little bit of a dodge, but I think it speaks to a reality that's where a whole lot of voters are these days.
You mentioned the foreign policy, and you and I in previous conversations have talked about how foreign policy generally isn't, one of those top issues for voters. It's the economy, it's the border, it's immigration, it's education in certainly previous elections. But listen, this debate took place hours after this unprecedented ballistic missile airstrike by Iran towards Israel. That is one of those things that presidents have to deal with without a lot of notice. It's that adage about the 3 a.m. phone call. What did you make of how both candidates kind of handled that issue? Foreign policy is one that doesn't really align neatly with either political party right now.
Well, I actually thought Vance's comments were a little more kind of to the mainstream center when it came to both supporting Israel, but also said that we should, talking about Israel, he said we should support our allies wherever they are to fight the bad guys. I think that's the right approach to take with the Israel question. Well, it begs the question about Ukraine, because that's the area where a lot of Republicans even, but certainly Democrats are wondering, where is J.D. Vance and Trump on Ukraine? Why are they so eager to cut a deal that could leave Ukraine with Russia taking over a significant part of its territory? We didn't talk. That was that Ukraine
I don't think came up at all in this debate.
At all in the debate. Yeah, it's a big issue. It's one where I think there are a lot of concerns, certainly among the foreign policy centered wing of the Republican Party, and how a Trump-Vance administration potentially could deal with that issue. But if that's the principle from a Trump-Vance ticket, that we support our allies wherever they are, that is traditional mainstream Republican foreign policy, then I think it would relieve a lot of people who have been nervous about where this ticket stands on national security. They've been more isolationist in their rhetoric than a lot of other Republicans have been.
Do these events that we saw in Israel, certainly what appears to be a quickly escalating conflict in the Middle East, does that have the potential to put this political race in any sort of new upheaval?
Yeah, look, I think that you heard from both Walz and Vance strong support for Israel. You also didn't hear Walz and Vance directly answer the question that was posed by the CBS News moderators, which was, do you support Israel striking back against Iran.
Neither of them really gave a direct answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a big question. That's being discussed right now within the Biden administration and within the Israeli government. How do we respond to these, serious ballistic missiles fired into Israeli territory? That could have been, if one landed, it could have been very, very deadly. Fortunately, minimal casualties, very, very few. But look, there's going to be a lot of debate in the Biden administration on whether they should put some pressure on Israel not to respond as aggressively, or as some conservatives and a lot of the Israelis believe, that they need to really send Iran a message and deter them from ever doing that again. And that's the debate that's taking place. Notably, the Trump-Vance campaign has been very reticent about offering any specifics beyond supporting Israel on whether they would support those types of measures, whether they would want to risk an escalating conflict in the Middle East.
So I think just to kind of put a bow on this, you believe that if there was a winner of this debate, it was J.D. Vance. The question, of course, is to what gain, right? To what impact does that win maybe have?
Yeah, this was a softer, gentler J.D. Vance, who I think was very well aware that his favorability numbers are about as bad as they can get for a running mate on a national ticket. And I think he did himself some good, giving people a second look of what he can be about, and that maybe the MAGA version of J.D. Vance is not the only brand of J.D. Vance out there.
Josh Crossour, Fox News Radio political analyst. We will have more of these conversations, I guess, at least for the next 34 days. Appreciate it, Josh.
This
Great. Thanks,
News
Jared.
Talk STL. 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
An important message from Byram Healthcare. If you live with diabetes, you know how challenging and painful it can be to manage your blood sugar. Whether you have private insurance, traditional Medicare, or Medicaid, that can all change. If you inject insulin or have hypoglycemic events without insulin, you may qualify to receive at little or no cost, less copay and deductible, a continuous glucose monitor. It provides blood sugar readings with no uncomfortable finger sticks. It alerts you in real time to potential spikes and lows with your blood sugar levels. Byram Healthcare has been named Best Overall Diabetes Supply Company 4 years in a row by Verywell Health. We carry all major brands and will work with your insurance to get your CGM approved. If you have diabetes, call a U.S.-based Byram Healthcare specialist now. See if you qualify and end the finger stick.
Call 888-907-8429. 888-907-8429. That's 888-907.
The Allman Report.
Hey, Wednesday on the Allman Report, we have our first Republican threatening to leave the country if Trump is elected. Ha, 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 good riddance. Allman Report, Wednesday, News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman. Weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue. And after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Pat Fader of Comprehensive Chiropractic. Doc, I hear you all have a new treatment program for everyone's chronic knee pain.
Tim, that's right. We are helping patients with chronic knee pain by addressing the root cause of their condition.
And what makes your program so unique?
Well, Tim, many programs focus on just one component of the problem, the structural component. Our program focuses on the metabolic and neurological component to complete the picture and improve our patients' outcomes. We get to the root cause of what is driving inflammation in a person's body and address it directly.
For your chronic knee pain and more, visit cchiropractic.com. All information, make an appointment at cchiropractic.com.
What happens next?
You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues.
Happens right here.
Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat.
The government and Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
America Decides 2024.
That he would weaponize the Department of Justice.
If she won the election, they'll go back to destroying our country.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Affect your favorite players. We are taking you right into the end zone with Fox Weather's exclusive weather forecasting technology and the risk of weather impact for every single game of the regular season. Listen to Storming the Field every Friday on FoxNewsPodcasts.com. A look at what's happening from the Fox News Rundown.
Good morning. It's Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. I'm Ted Lindner. This is the Fox News Rundown. 5 weeks to go now till Election Day 2024. Last night, the one and only vice presidential debate. The CBS News vice presidential debate saw Senator J.D. Vance, the Republican nominee, go up against Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the Democratic vice presidential nominee. They sparred over issues like foreign policy, border security, abortion, and climate change, and introduced themselves and their records to the American people. Election Day is November 5th. And tonight begins Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. Fox's Eben Brown.
Rosh Hashanah starts at sundown when Jews commemorate another year since the world was created. It begins what is known as the Jewish High Holy Days, or Yom Tov. Listening to the call of a ram's horn, or shofar, is commanded. Rosh Hashanah will be followed next week by Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and then Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, of which the final day is Simchat Torah, which will fall on October 25th. Last year, the festival fell on October 7th, as Hamas terrorists attacked Israel, took hostages, and sparked the current hostilities in the Middle East. Eben Brown, Fox News.
And I'm Ted Lindner on the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL. 101.9, 94.1, and NewsTalkSTL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Hey, it's Wednesday. We'll speak with Orvin Kimbrough on his new book on how he made it out of the streets, and we'll speak with Ethan Voorhees helping Hurricane Helene victims.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
When you make a big promise, you have to back it up with big actions, and that's what my friends at Window World do. Mike Ferguson here from my friends at Window World. Give them a call today, 314-993-1800. They are simply the best for less. Double strength glass windows that have a lifetime warranty on them. And now for the first time ever, Window World offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Get your free in-home estimate today. Give them a call, 314-993-1800.
Attention thrill seekers and fun lovers. Did you know the Midwest's largest wooden roller rink is right here in Missouri? Welcome to Piccadilly Palace, your ultimate family entertainment destination. Glide across our massive skating floor, conquer arcade challenges, put your way through mini golf and dive into cutting-edge virtual reality experiences. And coming soon, a relaxing bar and grill patio, state-of-the-art golf simulators, and heart-pounding two-story go-kart racing next to East Central College in Union, Missouri. Plan your visit now at PiccadillyPalace.com. That's PiccadillyPalace.com.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Congratulations to the awesome team at Connor Roofing for earning the 2024 National Best of the Best Award for Customer Satisfaction. Connor Roofing has now won back-to-back honors because they do outstanding work in all types of roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. We chose Connor Roofing without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor. Their customer reviews are some of the best in the country. Please read them. Visit ConnorRoofing.com and request an estimate. Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor.
Tony Colombo here for Zero Res, the cleaning pros we trust with our home, and the team bringing you a great offer for the month of October. Book a cleaning this month and mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus, you can take $75 off an air duct cleaning. Don't let the germs hiding in your home haunt your family. Call Zero Res now and take advantage of this scary good deal. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
The O'Reilly Update, brought to you by Seavers JCB. Visit them at their St. Peter's location.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, if you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, listen up. Car Shield is a low-cost monthly vehicle protection plan now available to you. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Please call 800-925-7584 for a free quote. Drivers who activate today will also receive free roadside assistance and towing at no additional cost. That is 800-925-7584 right now. On this Wednesday, Senator Vance and Governor Walz will not have much impact on the vote come November. Both men were selected to be loyal to the top of the ticket. The party faithful might like them, but most Americans have no idea who they are, even after watching the debate. In American history, many vice presidents who took over the Maine job were ridiculous. Think Andrew Johnson, John Tyler, Chester A. Arthur. No, he's not a rapper. Theodore Roosevelt and Calvin Coolidge performed fairly well as presidents. But Lyndon Johnson was a disaster for the country. In fact, the extent of LBJ's corruption actually surprised me while we were researching Confronting the Presidents, my new bestseller. These days, the best and brightest politicians rarely get offered the vice presidency lest they outshine the top of the ticket. That is not a good situation for the country. In the end, the vote will come down to personal preferences. Vice President Harris is not a problem solver and will govern far to the left. Donald Trump will not moderate his presentation and is likely to duplicate his first rodeo. So the choice is fairly clear, and the two vice presidential nominees will not have much to do with it. Back after this. Are you feeling the impact of the recent changes in the timeshare industry? My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you. For more than a decade, they have successfully helped over 20,000 owners get out of their timeshare with an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau. Customer service is their priority. For a free consultation and a guaranteed solution, 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
There is some wow in this Wednesday forecast. It's gorgeous out there. After a chilly start in the 40s, we climbed to 74 this afternoon under sunny skies, just a light south wind. This air is really dry. 60s this evening before we drop to 53 early Thursday morning. 80s are coming back tomorrow afternoon, mostly sunny Thursday and a high of 83. I think those 80s are going to stick around all the way through the weekend, too. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
It's a pretty simple concept.
It is clear to me.
Let me make this clear.
Big events.
Your news and your opinions.
We're going to get out there and be heard.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Our voices are never heard in the media. We, the people, will always find a way.
And it's about time that we start putting up or shutting up.
Yeah, and you should come. You should listen to many voices.
101.9 and 94.1.
Their phone lines have surely been burning up.
News Talk STL. Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
We are almost at the 1 month point of the countdown to the elections. I, for one, will be glad when they're over one way or the other. But in the meantime, it's going to get pretty intense. And the way that we vote is also up for a vote, at least on the Missouri side of the News Talk STL listing area. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. 7:35, let's check in and see what Amendment 7 is actually all about. This is going to be interesting. Hey, good morning. It's Mike here. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of this Wednesday. Yesterday's program, we got the news of the port workers strike along the East Coast and also in the southern U.S., and while it's a big story because there's tens of thousands of workers who have gone on strike at this point, there's also another question. What could this do to our daily lives out here in the Midwest? Should we start having a plan to prepare for shortages of anything? Well, based on the facts and based on the sound bites that we were able to put together, here's the conversation we had about that. You got any ideas? Let me know. Put them on social media, or we can take your call right after this discussion here at 314-912-1019. 45,000 workers now off the job at basically shipping ports all through the eastern seaboard down as far as Texas. That's a lot.
Yeah. 18 ports, I believe, in total, at least.
45,000 workers. Mm-hmm. And much of this part of the country already affected by Hurricane Helene and then later on Tropical Storm. They're still called Helene, I think, right? The storm keeps its name.
Yeah. It may.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think the one thing that really bothered me was the head of the Longshoremen's Union yesterday made a comment to some news sources that this is what's going to happen after a week. This is what's going to happen after 2 weeks. You're going to have products that won't be available. After 3 weeks, you'll see some stores shutting down. They can't pay employees. 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to have this happen. Yeah. And he did not portray any type of attitude that was conciliatory, like, let's go to the table and discuss this.
Yeah, and here's the thing is St. Louis is a union town. It's one of the few union cities left in the country. Big cities have union presences. St. Louis has a long history of unions. So I kind of tread lightly here on this, but just what you described, Stel, is basically the union saying, we're going to F everybody over that we can until we get everything we want on this.
That's what it sounds like.
Basically, we're going to make sure that we're going to make life miserable for people trying to make a living throughout the rest of the country. So you'd better put some pressure on them to give us everything that they want. There are negotiations that happen in good faith. And generally speaking, I'm not a big union guy. I think in the private sector, you've got a right to organize if you want. Now, I don't think that businesses should be required to comply to you. I think you should come to them in good faith. I don't think labor unions should be allowed in the public sector.
Right. Yeah, not at all.
Period.
No.
But in this particular case, what you've got is we're heading into an election. We're heading into the holiday season. And somebody who basically says, well, if we've got the power to hurt people's lives across the country in order to get more money, then we're going to do it. So they're coming across as greedy, whether or not they're the greedy ones or not. For instance, here is that union boss being asked, and this is part of what he had to say.
We are fighting for our families, and we are fighting for the rights so that we have a right to get a piece of that money that they got so much of, and we're going to do it. We're going to walk away with a great contract.
Okay, so one of the other things that they are striking over is they are demanding that these shipping companies and these ports not be allowed to use automation.
Like any automation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure there's something there, but basically what they're arguing is we don't want the cranes, we don't want the conveyor belts, we don't want the things that read, the things that people get paid to do right now. There is technology available to automate that.
It's coming up.
Right.
And it's getting cheaper by the day.
Exactly.
Basically.
And so they want to ban the automation. I got to tell you, that's one of the places where you absolutely lose me. That's a reality of technology. That's the reality of the economy internationally. And you can say, hey, this is proof that we should not import these things and make them here in the United States. Well, fine. Then make them at the same price and the same quality. Good luck to you.
Yeah. This strikes me as kind of something, if somebody did this during the early days of the Industrial Revolution, where, there was a machine that would stamp something in metal and somebody had to pull a lever to do that. Right. Now,
printing press.
Printing press. Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, you have a machine that will do it automatically and it'll do it faster. Imagine going into negotiations saying, we're going to ban those machines from this sector. It's like it should sound as extreme as that to you when they say we want to ban any automation on the docks.
Yeah, and that is one of the things they are openly saying. We want to stop automation. And I understand that the union's job is to try to protect their membership and their workers. But to say we want to keep you in 1970s technology or 1970s equipment, not in 2024, 25, not 2030 technology, which does require fewer people. So we want to make sure it's more expensive to do business because we want our workers to make more money.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the union has one job. Get your employees the most amount of money and the most amount of stuff and benefits for the least amount of work possible.
Sure.
That's their job.
Yes. And that's fine. I mean, that's what individuals would do. That's how individuals negotiate. And so then same thing with collective bargaining, right?
Right.
And now, of course, it's the company's job to get as much labor out of them for the least amount of money,
right?
Or the least amount of resources, on the flip side. So then they
get the most amount of profit.
Get most amount of profit off.
Right.
Ultimately, that. So then they have to come to the table and agree to a price. That's how prices work everywhere. For everything. It's basically that negotiation.
Right.
But when they basically hold you hostage, I mean, and that's part of my consternation with the whole idea of striking. It feels I don't know. I've always had a problem with striking. I'm trying to wrap my head around why that is. Why do I have a reflexive distaste for that sort of negotiation? Because it feels almost like hostage taking, and maybe that's why it has that feel. And especially given what Stell was relating from that union boss. Hey, in a week, you're going to be missing these things, the fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. And in 2 weeks, clothes are going to start disappearing off the shelves. And we're talking about, like you said, just ahead of the holidays, right? Where they're supposed to be stocking up for Christmas. All the Christmas stuff's supposed to be coming out in November.
Yeah, but it's already out there.
Even though, so
stop it.
But all of those things, it feels like hostage taking on some level.
Well, and that's a leverage point. When they're saying stuff like that, they're not talking to the company. They're talking to the politicians.
Right.
And here's what and he may be right about the residual effects of this, because you're also talking about raw materials that are used in factories,
right?
Raw materials that are used in assembly lines. But for instance, and I was reading a couple of articles on this morning, say, what are we going to see first? Perishable items. So bananas from South America, mangoes from, the Philippines and things like that. So things that don't grow native here in as the big quantities as we would want or need.
Or they're out of season.
Right. And so those are the things that immediately you'll start seeing dry up. And then when we had the supply chain issues, what was that, 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I think in large part because of the government overreaction and tyrannical nature of the COVID stuff. They stopped making things around the world because they were using the same tactics that our government was and shutting everything and everybody down. Well, then the supply lines dried up. And then before you know it, in Middletown, USA, all of a sudden you can't get stuff. People go into a panic. They start hoarding things unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And then we really saw the initial hints of what could happen if a society breaks down.
Yes.
It didn't break down.
No.
But we saw what could happen. We got little hints of it.
Little taste
of what could happen.
And the lingering stuff were production lines, for instance, for the auto production industry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so with something like this, now we've had a little taste of that. Now, do I think that this one union is going to shut down the country?
No,
I don't think so. But we also have this, and we have massive destruction and damage because of the hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
We already have inflation that's piled on over the last 3 years, not growing as fast as it used to be. The 3 whatever inflation is closer to the target, but that is still growing above and beyond what's happened.
Right.
So we also have kind of tenuous situation economically for a lot of people anyway on this. So then the question comes down to, do you need to kind of brace yourself and prepare for an economic, maybe a crash, or just maybe the economy isn't working because of factors like natural disasters and artificial disaster, like a union strike like this?
Yeah, I mean, it may not be a disaster in the big sense, but the thing is, when you run out of stuff that you need at home, it's a little disaster, and you can prevent those things by just being prepared for them.
Right. And so how do you prepare then? We got a couple minutes here.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of interesting conversations, whether it's, terrorism attack or cyber attack or natural disaster, as far as preparing in your immediate home. Do you have 1 month, 2 months, whatever's worth of food and medicine and supplies. So you've got all that, but we don't know what could slow down and being stocked. And it's not even just, will they still have toothpaste? Well, yeah, but the thing of toothpaste isn't going to be $2.89. It's going to be $10.
Right.
And if it's $10, that means that the other groceries also going up in similar prices, meaning you've got to be very, very careful about what you buy. So maybe you start saying, okay, what are the least expensive, most simple recipes I can feed my family with and have some nutrition? And having those sorts of conversations seems like it would have been really bizarre and weird and conspiracy theory laden and tinfoil hat wearing just a few years ago, that now you say, we've got some factors in place. Hopefully they all smooth out, and this, we're going to laugh at ourselves for having the conversation. Or we say, do you have to say, what would happen if?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of non-perishable goods you can kind of stock up on, and yeah, what's the worst that happens if you buy too much rice?
Right.
If you buy too many cans of the thing that you like.
Right.
Oh no, I have too many of the things that I like. I'm going to have to eat it over the next 10 years before it expires.
Or it's going to have to go to the food bank.
Yeah. I mean, at worst, it's going to have to go to the food bank. But
Right.
I mean, most of this stuff lasts for years and years and years, and if it's stuff you like, you're gonna use it.
Right.
It's just that now it's taking up a little bit of extra room in your house.
Right. So, I mean, like I mentioned, I went and did grocery shopping yesterday, and I am now in the habit of adding just a few extra things just to put it back in a pantry. You should have that anyway in case the ice storm comes and knocks down power. For a few days, we should be ready for that, or a tornado in this part of the country. But now, instead of saying I may need to get by for a few days because of a storm, versus we have a multitude of things that say, what if I'm on my own for a month?
Yeah.
We're not used to that in the West. We're not used to that in the United States. That could never happen to us.
Until it does.
And it's that whole cycle, hard times make strong men make easy times make weak men make hard times.
And the cycle continues.
That cycle continues.
You are here in the hard times.
Yeah. All right, got some thoughts on that? Shoot them my way on Rumble or Facebook or Twitter, or just give us a call, 314-912-1019. Otherwise, we've got the first morning news dump of the day coming your way just ahead right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
What citizen wouldn't want to make America great again?
Live and local.
You lose, you Dixon Notch. Yeah. You lost America. I saw it etched on coins.
This is News Talk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
When it comes to spending your tax dollars and teaching your kids, governments and school districts should be an open book. But in Missouri, that's not always the case. Recently, the Show Me Institute sent out a sunshine law request to school districts across the state, asking for information on whether certain topics are being taught. Specifically, a controversial one called critical race theory was included in the list. Many districts didn't respond. Some wanted to charge large fees to process the documents. Lee's Summit outside Kansas City wanted over $35,000. A rural district, Morgan County, wanted $15,000. The Sunshine Law does allow charging a reasonable fee for sending out information, but there's nothing reasonable about $35,000 or $15,000. These districts should want to be transparent about their curriculums. Taxpayers deserve to know what their kids are being taught. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
News Talk STL.
First thing in the morning and pretty much all day.
Live and local. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Hey, you can still debate in rock in America, right?
Yes, you can.
All right. What's your hot take? I'm going to start looking at the social media comments and chat and all this sort of thing. What did you think of that debate last night? It's kind of what I thought it was going to be. But I do think it was a good debate. So we'll get into everybody's takes on that here in just a few minutes. 5:53. Also, Iran steps up its attack on Israel. This could have been something that immediately plunged that region into a regional war, but it looks like Iran basically defeated the attack. And the Blues get their last warm-up before the season starts. Let's dump some news on you here.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
All right, search and rescue efforts underway throughout the south and east parts of the country after Hurricane Helene went through so many parts of the U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas details what's likely to be the cost of the rescue, recovery, rebuilding efforts.
This is a multi-billion-dollar undertaking in terms of the search and rescue and the response.
The last report that I saw regarding the confirmed deaths from Helene was just a little bit over 140, and that's still likely going to go up.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Yeah. All right. The vice presidential debate took place. Vice presidential nominees engaged in, it was a calm, it was a civil debate. It was an exchange of ideas, and it was something a little bit different for this campaign.
The tone of the J.D. Vance-Tim Walz debate was strikingly polite and respectful in the polarized environment of the 2024 campaign.
I've enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think there was a lot of commonality.
I think that Governor Walz and I actually probably agree that we need to do better on this.
But the friendly discussion did not shy away from sharp differences between the two campaigns on a host of issues, including guns.
We unfortunately have a mental health crisis in this country.
Sometimes it just is the guns.
Instead of aiming their attacks at each other, the two VP hopefuls went after each other's running mates. Greg Clugston, New York.
All right. Definitely want to get your thoughts on that. 314-912-1019. Iran launched a missile attack on Israel, of course, adding to the tensions, is what the media copy always says. President Biden gives an update on the U.S. response to the attack. This is at the White House.
At my direction, the United States military actively supported the defense of Israel, and we're still assessing the impact. But based on what we know now, the attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective.
The attack comes after Israel delivered devastating blows to Hezbollah leadership and launched a ground incursion into Lebanon in response to other attacks. Israel, once again, vowing to do whatever it takes to defend itself, and they are stepping up in a massive, massive way. All right, guess who turned 100 yesterday? Did you hear about this? Yeah, 100 years old. It was Jimmy Carter. It was his 100th birthday. And his grandson, Jason Carter, was on Your World with Neil Cavuto on Fox talking about what he hopes will be the legacy of Jimmy Carter.
One of the great things about my grandfather is politicians from all across the political spectrum will tell you, I disagree with him on this, but he's a good man. Or I do agree with him on these things, but not these, right? And we have the ability as Americans and as people to have those kind of conversations. It doesn't have to be vitriol all the time.
And Jimmy Carter, of course, in hospice care at this point, but I think he's the only past president to reach 100 years old.
Yes, you're correct about that. And it's funny to hear family members say that, he's doing better here the last few weeks. We were concerned, and he's listening to the Allman Brothers Band.
Well, I give props for that, I guess. A little Southern rock. He is
exactly.
from Georgia.
Yeah.
All right. In preseason play, the Blues lost to the Blue Jackets at Enterprise last night. The final was 3-1 with Justin Falk scoring St. Louis's only goal. The Blues open up the season on the road on Saturday. They will be taking on the Blackhawks in Chicago.
Ooh, yeah.
Now
we're talking.
Start off with the rivalry, man. Start off. Hey, why not? Just dive head first into the season.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer. And again, airfare.
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared? Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable, final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-8888. 8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The world waits for the other shoe to drop, waiting for Israel's response to Iran's attack, the firing of more than 180 ballistic missiles into Israel. Most of the Iranian missiles were intercepted, but some got through. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu speaking through a BBC translator.
Tonight, Iran again attacked Israel with hundreds of missiles. This attack failed. It was thwarted thanks to Israel's air defense system, which is the most advanced in the world. I congratulate the Israel Defense Forces for its impressive achievement. It was also thwarted thanks to the vigilance and responsibility shown by you, the citizens of Israel.
The Mideast crisis among issues on the table in last night's vice presidential debate. White House correspondent Greg Clugston on hand for the showdown between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz in New York.
Debating on a day when Iran fired missiles at Israel, Walz touted Kamala Harris as a steady leader and argued that Trump is unstable.
It's those that were closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous.
But Vance said there were fewer wars during the Trump administration and that peace was achieved through strength.
Donald Trump actually delivered stability in the world, and he did it by establishing effective deterrence.
Both men voiced support for Israel in a debate that was incredibly civil and respectful in tone. Greg Clugston, New York.
The Hurricane Helene death toll has risen to at least 166 as crews continue searching for the missing in North and South Carolina, and survivors struggle to obtain the basics, food and water. Today, President Biden visits the Carolinas. He'll take an aerial tour of the devastation. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures in the red so far. The Dow futures down 112 points. NASDAQ futures off 14 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
My debt problem started probably about 2016. I needed my life to change financially. I called Trinity and I ended up joining based on high credit card bills and high interest rate. And my counselor at Trinity has been great, and Trinity has been helping me to get on the right path of paying off these credit card bills, bringing down the interest rate. They have consolidated my bills into one low monthly payment. And now I am finally getting out of credit card debt. So I just want to say thank you, Trinity, for showing me a better and greater path.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Sharon, and soon I will be debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
There is some wow in this Wednesday forecast. It's gorgeous out there. After a chilly start in the 40s, we climbed to 74 this afternoon under sunny skies, just a light south wind. This air is really dry. 60s this evening before we drop to 53 early Thursday morning. 80s are coming back tomorrow afternoon, mostly sunny Thursday and a high of 83. I think those 80s are going to stick around all the way through the weekend, too. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. With the average funeral bill being over $9,000, are your loved ones prepared? Call 314-866-8886 or memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Hey, Tony Colombo here with Tim Jones for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway, the #1 home selling team in the St. Louis area. And I can say that from firsthand experience. My wife and I were blown away from the results that we saw from working with Rodney and Jen, from selling our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible to finding our family's perfect new home. They over-delivered every step of the way. And right now, it's still very much a seller's market. So, Tim, for folks that have been thinking about selling their home, it's a perfect time to call the Wallners.
That's right, Tony. And don't forget, they're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so no matter where you are in the metro area, you can put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. The Wallners' experience and work ethic, second to none. And of course, the numbers speak for themselves. The Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. Right now, they're working with so many qualified buyers, They'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner Home Selling Team.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Company, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy? Wow, you're really pumped about this.
Gabe Pfeiffer. Get up, St. Louis.
The best answer to the toxicity of the left is the truth.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
Good morning to the people of St. Louis.
There's no question this has been one of the most bizarre presidential election seasons, at least in recent memory, if not for the last who knows how many generations. And one of the most interesting policy and political sort of alliance developments is the Teamsters, long expected to be a loyal Democratic supporting organization, decided to sit this one out, decided they were not going to endorse Kamala Harris, decided they were not going to endorse Donald Trump. And that is not unheard of, but it's been a long time. Does that tell us anything about the state of where labor is, organized labor and government and policy, and frankly, our political process? I'm Mike Ferguson. I am now joined by Sean Higgins from the Competitive Enterprise Institute, and you can read his work on this at CEI.org. And I think a lot of people right now, Sean, are looking at the immediate. Wow, it's been since, 1996 or something like that, that the Teamsters haven't endorsed anybody. And a lot of people are looking at this as a Harris versus Trump situation. So let's start with the immediate. What was it that the Teamsters decided was in their best interest to not align with one of the candidates? Because that really did surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, basically the labor movement, the leadership of the labor movement as a whole, the AFL-CIO and all the sort of organizations like that are very firmly in the Democratic camp, and they're trying to get the rest of the sort of labor movement to go along with that. The Teamsters are a classic outlier. They're both one of the largest unions in the country, but they're not a member of the AFL-CIO. They're not beholden to them, and they're not sort of beholden to that sort of notion of that this is where all labor needs to go, that the other ones do. So they sat this one out, and they did it for a very specific reason. They polled their internal members, and they found that their members 2-to-1 almost favored Trump over Harris. So if they had endorsed Harris against the wishes of their own members, they faced a lot of disgruntled rank and file people, and they didn't want to have to do that. At the same time, if they had gone ahead and endorsed Trump, that probably would have spoiled their relations with a lot of the rest of the labor movement, and they don't want to sort of burn those bridges. So they ended up not endorsing anybody as the sort of best solution that was available to them.
Does this show any shift as far as the policy from the Republican nominee at this point? I mean, there's been basically an antagonistic relationship between a lot of labor unions and Republicans. Now you see Donald Trump really going for that union vote. You've got Josh Hawley in Missouri literally walking picket lines with union members. That would have been unheard of in the very recent memory. Are Republicans moving at all in their policy specifically?
Not much. There are some cases where you cite Josh Hawley, who is probably the best known example, and one of the others is J.D. Vance, and that's obviously pretty significant because he's Trump's running mate. But as a whole, Trump really hasn't done much to sort of move things in the direction of labor policy, at least the way labor leadership wants it. His appeal to union workers is basic, for the most part, just a sort of cultural one. It's not based on sort of policy or economic things, at least not one specific to unions. It's just that, these are people who are, ordinary blue collar guys who that Trump appeals to for the same reason he appeals to a lot of other voters too. And, the Teamsters are sort of recognizing that because they're one of the largest unions and they have a much more sort of blue collar and private sector oriented membership. And so they're sort of reacting to that.
We're visiting with Sean Higgins from the Competitive Enterprise Institute. All right, let me follow up there. And this is admittedly some projection. I've got a number of friends and teammates on my ball team who are union guys. And one thing I've noticed over the years is that they're very loyal to the union itself. Even if they disagree with the decision, that they generally say we've got to stick together. That's part of the point of having a union. When you talk about that sort of cultural divide or cultural rift that could be happening, whether it's Teamsters or any others, is that something that unions are going to need to respond to as far as like a marketplace of ideas, or the fact of the matter of the way the economy affects people? I mean, is this a market demand from its membership into the leadership? Because before, a lot of people said the union decides, we stick together. Well, now we're seeing some pushback against sort of that union boss model.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case. Unions are supposed to be membership-based organizations. They're ultimately supposed to go where their members want them to go. But in practice, it's usually the leaders telling the members where they ought to go. And I think particularly in the sort of the more modern era with social media and such, and the sort of also just the way the economy itself is changing, and it's becoming more sort of worker oriented, that's giving workers more say in things in general, and they're raising more questions, and they're saying, why do we have to necessarily do things this way? I mean, on the one hand, if they're a union member and they've been there for a long time and they feel that the union does generally look out for their interests or do good things for them, they're not going to want that organization to be weakened. At the same time, they are going to ask questions. Well, why are we doing this thing this particular way? They want sort of more democracy and a little democracy in the union in terms of just what the decisions are and how it decides where it's going to go. And I think we're seeing that sort of dynamic play out in the Teamsters non-endorsement.
So when we look at that dynamic right there, is this a snapshot in time, or is this possible that this could be the next evolution in the organized labor movement in the United States, which obviously would affect non-union shops and policy and government and economy and all sorts of things? So are we looking at an aberration, or are we looking at a shift that could be long-term?
That's the big question. I mean, are the Teamsters an outlier, or are they the sort of canary in the coal mine? I think they're more of an outlier than they are representative of the rest of the labor movement, I believe, in part because they just are so sort of large. They're so sort of centered towards the private sector. So they're much more responsive to the ebb and flow of the economy. And, there's just a lot of people who are union members who also, one thing we need to understand is that most people who are in unions never voted to be in a union. They just joined workplaces that were already organized. And this has a profound effect, I think, on the sort of the level of democracy that there are in the unions. I mean, because the leadership is oftentimes just not used to having a serious amount of feedback from the members. It tends to flow in one direction. But as these sort of things survive, and as more and more people sort of come in who didn't have this before, but are raising questions about why they have to do things a particular way under the rubric of leadership of the unions, that's sort of playing out. And the other thing about the Teamsters is that it has historically been one of the more Republican-leaning unions. I mean, they endorsed Nixon in '72, they endorsed Reagan in '80 and '84, they endorsed George Herbert Walker Bush. They have been willing to sort of buck that trend and say to the rest of the labor movement, we don't have to, necessarily be a liberal progressive organization, particularly if our members aren't. We do need to represent them, while even if at the same time, we have to do collective bargaining in the traditional way, which is more sort of a liberal thing. And so they sort of represent this sort of push-pull and internal contradiction of the labor movement. I mean, on the one hand, it's the people, it's the blue-collar workers writ large, in theory. In practice, it isn't always that way. The other issue is that a huge part of the labor movement currently is public sector workers, which is an entirely different sort of beast. About half of all unionized workers work in the public sector, and they're kind of insulated as a consequence from the changes in the economy by virtue of that. The Teamsters have about 200,000 public sector workers, but 1.1 million private sector workers. So they're much more oriented towards the private sector. And so they're also different from the rest of the union movement like that. But I suspect that there's a similar dynamic happening in a lot of other unions, even the ones that are more supposedly liberal or progressive oriented, where they have a lot of members who just are members because they had to be members to keep their jobs. But they do raise questions of, why is it done this way? Why do we have to back this particular candidate or this particular cause? I don't necessarily see a point, this is the union worker talking to themselves. I don't see a point where I have to go out and, campaign for this individual if I don't like this individual. And I think this sort of dynamic is probably playing out at a smaller level in a lot of other unions.
Got just under a minute left, Sean. The conventional wisdom says if you sit this out, you don't have anything to leverage. But is there a way for labor and the labor movement to look at this non-endorsement and use that as leverage, at least in future campaigns and elections?
I think it still gives them a bit of pull, because it is a sort of, hey, you're not doing enough to win our support one way or the other. It says the same thing to both sides. Keeping your powder dry and not helping any other people when you do represent 1.3 million people is itself, I think, a very significant gesture. And I think it's something that both of the candidates and their respective parties are going to pay attention to. So I think it's, as a strategic move, it may not be the strongest one they have, but it's not a bad one.
All right. The article is called Teamsters Non-Endorsement, Outlier or Sign of Things to Come. It was written by Sean Higgins. You can find it at cei.org. Sean, really appreciate you being on. This is just such a fascinating development in the overall campaign. So I appreciate you writing about that. And those numbers and the way you contextualize them, I think, is really fascinating. So really appreciate the perspective.
Thank you very much.
All right. This is where the discussion starts up here. What do you think? 314-912-1019. And I'm talking to whether you're a union member, whether you are a business management, business owner. What do you think? I think that the impact of the Teamsters saying, yeah, we're not involved in this one. This is having kind of a ripple effect to some degree, especially in those states like Ohio and Pennsylvania and places where there's, still a lot of industry and manufacturing and things like that. It could have a bigger impact. What do you think? 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Don't try to make me stop. Inspiration. You have the soul so dark. It is no more. And all at once depart. No destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I've had enough of this. Turn my eyes.
Are you ready to stand against tyranny, strengthen the conservative movement, and enjoy tasty barbecue? Don't miss the 4th annual Missouri Young Republicans Freedom Fest Barbecue. Join us Saturday, October 12th at the St. Louis County GOP headquarters in Fenton. We've got an exciting lineup of invited speakers and mouthwatering barbecue. RSVP now at stlyrs.com. That's stlyrs.com. Presented by News Talk STL and Missouri Young Republicans.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator.
They have no understanding of who they're dealing with. We already have the biggest war in the Middle East, and it's about to get bigger. I think an attack is imminent. I'd say it's going to come from 4 different directions. There's going to be a lot more missiles against a lot more targets, quite possibly including American forces, and from a lot shorter range, and therefore much harder to intercept.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of 3 places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit serenitynowtax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at serenitynowtax.com. That's serenitynowtax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's serenitynowtax.com. Serenity Now! With Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Dan Bongino here, and I'm proud to be on News Talk STL every weekday from 11 to 2. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, what'd you think of last night's debate? I'm going to go around the room here in just a minute. Also, don't forget, I haven't just mentioned, hey, share the social media.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got to hit the button.
We've got the Rumble chat box. Talk Rumblers.
It started off.
It's
hot.
fun, man.
They just came in guns ablazing.
And I agree with Barely Biggs. I think the theme for today is knuckleheads.
Well, sometimes I'm a knucklehead.
That's right. And I've said that too. I say that it's kind of funny because that's one of my favorite words.
Mhm.
And I know Tim Walz said it, but for instance, I'll talk about the baseball guys. I'm like, yeah, all these baseball knuckleheads. I use that word all the time.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll get into everybody's hot takes on that. 314-912-1019. But yeah, if you haven't already followed us or shared us or anything like that, for instance, if you see the post on X, Twitter, just hit that repost thing, that share. Also, Facebook, please please share. It makes a huge difference, especially as we head into the final stretch of the election here.
And if you're streaming, especially on those, hit
the
thumbs up, because that gets us in front of more faces, adds to the community, and we can get your voice further and further to further reaches of the entire globe.
That's right.
It's pretty awesome.
It amplifies your voice.
Mhm.
All right. Real quick before we get to the debate, just a quick update on this port workers strike situation.
Yeah. The more I learn about this, the angrier it makes me.
The more we learn about this, the more to me it's obvious that the union is the bad guy here.
Yes.
On this one.
Mhm.
I'm not saying unions are always the bad guys in negotiations, but in this one, they are absolutely the bad guy. Real quick, and we can get into a little more detail a bit later on. They were offered a 77% raise.
So they were offered 50.
I'm sorry, they were offered 50. Yeah, they were offered 50% raise over the next 5 years. So 10% a year over the next 5 years. Which if you take it, 10%, then 10%, then 10%, then 10%.
It compounds.
It actually compounds.
It's more than 50%.
They said no to that, and they're demanding 77%. Barron's and Competitive Enterprise Institute and some others, they actually looked at what the dock workers actually make on average $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
$150,000 a year, and a 50% raise was rejected out of hand.
Yes. By the
They
way,
said, no, we want 77.
so after 5 years, and of course, this is just a straight calculation,
Right.
straight 50%, which is not compounded like it actually would be. So that's at least 225.
Right.
That would
Okay.
put them at 225 in 5 years.
Right. And so basically they figured out that we can cripple other parts of the economy. So we're banking on that. And what their big issue is, and Sean Higgins, who we just heard from a few minutes ago, he's got another post on CEI's website, cei.org. The real issue here, is they don't want automation. They don't want the computer technology. They don't want the robotic technology. They do not want automation that would come in and be more accurate and safer and faster than what humans can actually do.
Yeah.
So that's really what they want to do, is hold back the employer from making advancements in competitiveness on there. So I get that they want to preserve their jobs, but that would, we've all heard those ridiculous stories. I heard one from somebody in this business, our business, that somebody got really mad at them because they were waiting to do a broadcast, except nobody had actually plugged in the board to the outlet in the wall, the regular 110 outlet. And so he walked over there and did it. And they got furious because that was a union guy's job.
Right.
And
no one was allowed to do it.
They were threatening to throw him out and everything. And so this goes to show you how extreme and ridiculous some of these union, and it's not all, and there's a lot of great union people out there.
Sure, yeah.
There are also thugs out there in union. And that's what this group's looking at. And by the way, the guy who's the Daggett guy, who's the head of the union, he makes like $700,000 a year.
Yeah.
Is he the one with reportedly a Bentley that he's driving around?
Maybe. I don't know.
Probably.
But,
I think so.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's where that's at. All right. The debate last night, real quick, around the room. What's your reaction?
I was pleasantly surprised at how engaging that debate was.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good debate, except for the moderators.
Yeah.
They still inserted themselves.
I agree. Well, it wasn't even just that they inserted themselves. They insisted on some false premises.
They did. Yes, that's true.
And
there's no time to dismantle all of them in the time that they
right.
gave you.
So were they as atrocious as the debate between Trump and Harris?
No.
but there are just degrees of atrociousness.
yeah.
And they weren't as atrocious, but they were still atrocious. So I don't want anybody to think that, well, Mike thought the moderators were good. No, they sucked. They were awful.
And there was an agreement beforehand that they would not do any fact checking.
Right.
And they immediately jumped in and started doing them and did these little curves right after somebody would finish an answer before going to the next question. They would toss in a little comment that kind of turned it the other way.
Well, the scientific consensus is that.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and
I
so
hate those.
I know exactly.
Oof.
And then at one point, Vance was like, no.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
said that.
Yes.
Here's what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
And that happened there. Okay. So I had been saying, listen, Tim Walz, I think he's wrong about pretty much everything.
Yes.
But he's a good debater.
He held his own.
That's a good way to put it. I think he held his own.
Mm-hmm.
Well, except for the times he lied. But other than that, yeah,
but
he held his own.
When I talk about a debate holding his own, he held his own, even when he was saying stuff that was not true and was wrong from a debate perspective. Here's how I look at these things. I look at these things as, if I'm that mushy middle voter, who am I more attracted to? Or who am I attracted? Am I going to think more or less? I think both candidates were very likable. I thought both were very engaging. Now, do I think Tim Walz said anything of real substance? Nope. But did he debate well? Yes. Now, I think JD Vance clearly won that debate. I thought Walz was good in the debate. I thought Vance was much better. I thought clearly Vance won that debate.
It's really hard, I think, for a lot of people to watch the debates. If you are a high information voter, it is tough to watch the debate like a low information voter.
Right.
But that's kind of how you have to watch these debates, because neither of the guys are going to convince you one way or the other if you already know what the answer is.
But like, for instance, Walz was asked, you said this about China. We now know that's not true.
Right.
And so he talked in a big circle and he told a really nice story.
Oh, yeah.
And then they said, to their credit, they went, but you didn't answer the question.
Yeah.
And that's where he's like, yeah, I'm a knucklehead. I misspoke.
Yes.
Which, you know,
it came across very much. Sometimes I just start Michael Scott from The Office. Sometimes I just start a sentence. I don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
And I just kind of, I like improv conversation. Improvisation.
He was the little kid who got put in the corner and had to be, okay, I actually I did steal the cookie. You know,
all right, whatever.
All right, fine. You know,
yeah.
But so he got called out, you know, on that. But you know, when it comes to the presentation to the voters, I thought that the tone was good among both of them. I think, you know, Walz, I just completely disagree with basically everything I heard.
Yes.
I agreed with the majority of Vance stuff. Now, I mean, I wish the Republicans had nominated a conservative ticket. But that's just me. But Vance clearly was the better debater, and I think he clearly had the much better night. Let's see who we got here. Dave, we'll start with Dave. Hey, Dave, you're on News Talk STL. Give me your hot take on that debate last night.
Good morning, guys. I think Tim Walz is a step below retarded. I know all of his lies. So while he came across very, I guess, professional, I just know what a lying bag of crap he is. So the whole time I watched this debate, I was gagging. I mean, I thought Vance was outstanding. I thought Walz was just the typical usual Democrat. I'm going to lie, and then I'll double down on my lie. Unless you guys had a different take on it.
No, I
agree.
I didn't like anything that he had to say, but just from a performance perspective, I thought he had a good performance. And he was basically trying to run interference for Kamala Harris's record.
I thought his body language was horrible. JD Vance would be a great poker player. Mr. Porcelli would probably agree with that. But Walz, I would be a crappy debater, because about 5 seconds into it, when you said something that is just a lie, I'd say, F you, you know you're lying.
And your body would say that too.
Exactly. Here's the problem that I had is JD Vance should have started off, all right, you hands, get in the back, make some sandwiches, send the men out here to do the debate. I'm just joking. I'm not but I tell my wife what to do around the house.
Does she do it? That's the other part of the question.
The other part of the question.
No, she tells me to shut up and do it.
No, okay.
But here's the ultimate question that I have. It's just like you guys said. Well, I thought the debate went well. I thought obviously JD Vance was heads and shoulders above Walz. Is it really in the end going to change anybody's vote?
Yeah.
And this is the reason I called. I called in about the unions, and I thanks for always letting me go long, guys. I thought everything the guy said, Sean said about the unions was accurate. The one thing that, and my grandpa's been dead 22 years this year. He was a starter of Local 1, okay? He didn't start voting Republican and was quiet about it to the 80s. Now, man, mind you, this is my hero. This is a guy I looked up to, a World War II veteran, did 2 tours in the Solomon Islands. And this guy, my grandfather, my hero, was afraid to let the people know that the Democrats suck. I'm starting to go to the Republicans.
Yep. Yeah. 80s was though. So he was part of that Reagan revolution that shifted so much in the country there, Dave. All right. I got to run to information segment. Good call,
Thanks,
Dave.
guys.
Hey, man, appreciate it. Yeah. Appreciate
Bye-bye.
you being part of the program. See, my grandfather was also a World War II veteran, but he was an entrepreneur and built a business. He voted Republican up till the day he died. And I think that's after he died is when he started voting Democrat.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that's when
I
the
think
change,
that's how that works.
That's when the change comes. Yes.
Yeah, precisely. All right. All right. We got plenty of time to discuss this debate, especially 7:05. Our own Chris Arps is going to be with us to talk about that. A lot of people don't realize this about Chris. Remember back in 2016 when Ted Cruz was running for president? He had that bus that was going all over the country with some of his top advisors on that bus. You don't realize Chris was on that bus with Cruz. So Chris is really well connected.
Yeah.
So we think of Chris as the afternoon host that we love so much here, but Chris is better connected than so many people realize.
He's actually an insider.
Yeah, he really is. So we're going to talk to him around 7:05. Just ahead here, 6:35. Not been in the headlines lately. Interesting movement on this whole men and women's sports things at the Division I level. Some big schools are taking bold stands, and you're probably not going to see it outside of conservative media. I'll tell you what's going on right around 6:34.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show.
We will get a review of the VP debate with none other than Tim Jones.
Yeah.
And we'll do that Wednesday at 10:05. Don't miss it.
You go, Vic.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
There is some wow in this Wednesday forecast. It's gorgeous out there. After a chilly start in the 40s, we climbed to 74 this afternoon under sunny skies, just a light south wind. This air is really dry. 60s this evening before we drop to 53 early Thursday morning. 80s are coming back tomorrow afternoon, mostly sunny Thursday and a high of 83. I think those 80s are going to stick around all the way through the weekend, too. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
For over half a century, Joe Bacardi's has been serving up a little taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned since 1971, we're more than just a restaurant. We're a local landmark. With 4 convenient locations, we offer something for everyone, from our famous pizzas to mouth-watering entrees and delicious salads. Dine in with a glass of wine or grab a quick carryout. Whether it's dinner for 2 or catering for a crowd, Joe Bacardi's has you covered. Visit joebacardis.com and join our loyalty program. Joe Bacardi's, where every meal ends with buon appetito.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Epic STL is always on the lookout for highly motivated, goal-oriented, results-driven people to add to our growing, winning team of sales and content professionals. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL is a locally owned and operated venture of Epic STL. Apply to be a part of our creative, fun, and rewarding work environment by simply going to the Connect tab on newstalkstl.com and click on Application. Epic STL and News Talk STL are equal opportunity employers.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion. St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
This is one of the songs on my pre-game playlist that I play whenever I'm going to a ball game to play in.
One of your hype songs.
It's one of my hype me up songs. A
love
little
it.
Mammoth WVH, which the singer here, Eddie Van Halen's son.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is an Edison song.
That's the initials.
Yeah, Wolfgang Van Halen. And
Wolfgang.
Mammoth was the original name of Van Halen before they changed it to Van Halen.
Nice.
Where it all came from. All right. That has nothing to do with the topic that I'm all right. This has not been in the headlines lately, but there are signs. I think this is important to bring back up, even though it's like not the current dominant thing right now. But there are signs of more people, and I'm talking even on university campuses, public university campuses, left-wing university campuses, are starting to accept some common sense and some basic reality.
Really?
Yeah, some good signs here.
Okay.
By the way, Flashback Friday coming up this week. It is Wednesday already.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's
be
right.
thinking about those 80s bump music requests.
Get your songs in, guys.
Get them in. I think next week we need to think of a theme again.
Yeah.
So we'll like maybe think of something and then announce it on like Monday. But this week, Flashback Friday, get your themes in, or get your 80s bump music request in. You got till tomorrow afternoon to do that.
And while you're at it, if you do think of a theme, you can shoot that over to us too. We might consider it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, 6:35 right now. Okay. Here's this I thought was fascinating because I saw this on I saw it on one of the conservative, websites, news sites, and then I started looking around. I'm looking for the more mainstream ones to make sure that it's not just something that was. I mean, I think maybe it was Prager, one of those. I'm like, okay, well that's interesting. Let me go find it somewhere else.
Right.
And then I found it on a couple others, including Fox News here. The University of Wyoming women's volleyball team is now the third team to refuse to play San Jose State University in NCAA volleyball. So they forfeited the game instead of playing because the San Jose State University has a man on that team. They have a man who goes by the name of Blair Fleming, who is a red shirt junior. So that would make him about, if he's a red shirt junior, means that he would otherwise be a senior. So he would be 23, 24, something like that. No, I'm sorry, he'd be 22.
22.
About 22. So
21, 22.
20, somewhere in there. This is now the third team, like I said, who says we're not doing this. Boise State University.
They were another one.
My uncle's wife, I guess that would be, my aunt. There's not an in-law thing there.
Sure.
She's a professor at Boise State. And,
okay.
I've got an uncle who lives in Boise. This is about as left-wing as you get at Boise State. Outside of Portland or something. Then Boise, and Southern Utah, not known for its leftism.
No.
But you've now got 3 Division I schools that say we're not even going to play this game.
Okay.
We're not going to do it. Now they're not coming out and saying because of that dude with they're trying to be a little more
diplomatic about it. Yeah.
But they've just simply declined, which means by NCAA rules that San Jose State now has three wins in their columns that are actually forfeits because the women's team did not want to play against the stacked deck and they wouldn't play an unfair game.
Right. Wouldn't it be hilarious if they go undefeated because everybody forfeits against them?
Yeah, exactly. And then what happens is you get into your postseason play and you're not ready for this.
Everybody forfeits then, so you win the national championship.
Right, yeah. which makes the national championship completely worthless.
Yes, exactly. It's one of those that gets an asterisk, as they say, right?
And here's the thing is with Riley Gaines. That's basically what her activism and her messaging did was make that guy's national championship worthless.
Absolutely.
Made it absolutely worthless. And so what's happening here is that these teams are saying we're just not going to deal with this. And according to the statement by San Jose State University, they responded, put out a statement. It is disappointing that our San Jose State University student athletes who are in full compliance with NCAA and Mountain West, meaning the conference, Mountain West rules and regulations, are being denied opportunities to compete. Wait a minute. Who's being denied an opportunity to compete when you got a dude on the women's team?
Yeah.
Can we think of anybody else who might be denied an opportunity to compete in a women's sporting event?
Yeah, the girl on the bench whose spot he took.
Yeah, and then further down,
yeah.
the other woman who didn't make the roster
at
all,
right,
because it's full. They go on to say, we are committed to supporting our student athletes through these challenges and in their ability to compete in an inclusive, fair, safe,
oh my gosh,
and respectful environment.
Yes. Can we talk about the girls who've gotten concussions, and one who's didn't like she get her neck broken?
She had definitely had a neck injury. I don't remember if it was broken or not, but I know when that was a high school game.
Yeah.
And she got spiked. The dude spiked it so hard her head snapped back, and then she fell back, and she actually ended up with a neck injury.
Yeah, she has a permanent disability because of that. I think she's out of sports. She does.
Yeah, she's done.
I mean, she can she can walk, she can function, but she's impaired because a dude was in her sport.
And you would think, you look at a volleyball and you're thinking, oh, that's the ball moves fast, but that's not a soft thing.
No, it is not.
My daughter played collegiate volleyball.
As did mine.
Yeah.
Well, no, not collegiate.
My daughter played. Now it was a NAIA school. It wasn't anywhere near this Division I level, but she played on a scholarship at Bethany College in Kansas. And, let me tell you something. When she played her club ball, her travel ball, her high school ball, her college ball, you see those bruises everywhere. I got to tell you, I am still kind of surprised that volleyball is not more popular in this country, because it is a lot of fun to watch.
It is a cool
fun
sport.
game. And if you go to, you ever been to a Division I volleyball game?
I've watched them on TV.
Yeah. See, when I lived in Columbia with the kids, and I was over at 93.9 The Eagle way back when, I would take my daughter to Mizzou volleyball games. Oh my goodness, that ball moves fast. It is fun.
It's amazing.
It's just fun. And it's
really
not
good.
a matter of it's fun for girls sport. No, it's just fun.
Yes.
It is. That ball moves fast. And those are just the women. You put a dude on there, you're going to hurt somebody.
The difference now, I having watched, closely volleyball, because my daughter was in high school volleyball. So I was learning volleyball. She joined the volleyball team, was like, I've never watched it. I don't know the rules. So let me kind of read up on this, because that's kind of how I am. I watched women's collegiate ball on TV, and I watched men's. There is a striking, massive difference between the ball movement there. It's ridiculous. The sound the ball makes when a man hits it, for a spike, and it hits the floor.
Right.
My goodness.
Oh yeah. I asked my daughter once, because she was in college when all of this sort of nonsense was just starting, and I'm sure I probably told the story on the air before. And I said, well, what happens if you come up with a team against a team who has a dude on there? And my daughter, who is about as competitive as you can get, she'd say, well, there wouldn't be a point. They'd kill us. I said, even just one. She goes, yeah, she goes, it'd kill us. I mean, and she was on a good team. I think they were ranked for a little bit in their division for a little bit. She goes, there would be no point. Just one. So there's your fairness aspect of it. So we know that it's the wrong thing to do, but here's the thing.
Not fair or safe.
Yeah. That's like Serena Williams saying that Andy Hewitt would beat me 6-0, 6-0 in about 15 minutes.
Yeah,
she said she wouldn't want to embarrass herself.
Yeah, and that was, she said, any man in the top 200. John McEnroe got roasted when he said that, and then they thought Serena Williams was gonna like roast him, and she's like, no, this is what you said. She's like, no, this is a whole different game.
It is.
So does this show a glimmer of hope that the pushback, and I think you can take this back to Riley Gaines' activism, that it's working, and not just on a sports level? I mean, because it's one thing for conservatives to see the reality of all this, but are other people now basically getting permission, or at least standing up to go, yes, they're right, this is insane?
Yeah. I think, the more times we see the actual girls themselves and their coaches stand up for this, I think that the more the momentum is going to shift, because that's really what this has only been allowed to go so far because the ladies in the sort of feminist movement have been basically forced to accept it. They've been cowed and told to quiet down. It's like, oh, don't speak up. Just as Riley Gaines was saying, it's like all the girls who felt uncomfortable about this were told to shut up, or they were going to lose their scholarships. You wouldn't be able to play and all that. But the minute they start stepping up, the minute they start as a group holding their own against this craziness, I think it's going to go away.
And the fact is, once they start speaking up, you've got a media that shuts them back down and doesn't expose what the problem is. So you have mainstream media not even talking about it. So you have to go through alternative media. So it takes longer for it to build up. But you guys are right. Now it's finally starting to get going. Herzog Foundation had Riley in a few weeks ago for a conference at their facility in Kansas City. Ooh, I would have loved to have been there for that. I would have loved
to have been there for that.
Man.
That, because it's funny, because Riley Gaines, she's obviously reached a notoriety that's much bigger than when she was a swimmer, because the reality is, unless you follow swimming, you don't know who these athletes are. I've never heard of another swimming athlete, other than Michael Phelps and Riley Gaines, and I don't know who the others are.
Mark Spitz and a few others.
Oh yeah, from back in the day. But unless you follow that sport, you don't know who they are. Everybody knows Riley Gaines now, and she's done a phenomenal job putting a face, putting a name on why this is so unfair. And now when you get into these other sports, and volleyball is not what you call a contact sport, because you don't make contact with the other team.
Right. But you make contact with the floor.
But you make contact. Oh yeah. Oh, my daughter.
And definitely with the ball.
And the ball. Exactly. My daughter and I would like compare bruises.
Yeah.
And I did martial arts at the times, and I think she had more bruises than I did.
Oh yeah.
But this is a threat to the overall leftist narrative, and it's not about sports. And you may say, why on earth are they holding so tight to this? Why this issue? Why this men looking ridiculous in women's things? It's an attack on the narrative. It's an attack on our family structure in this country. It's an attack on basic biology, humanity, and it's an attack on decency. And you may say, oh, what? Just because someone's a trans person means they're not a decent person? That's precisely what I'm saying.
Yeah. And has the issue come up in any debate? No, it's never been raised in any of the debates.
That's a good point.
I find that so frustrating. Nothing's been discussed about Title IX, about any of these issues with men and women's sports, boys and girls sports, the lawsuits going on. Nothing.
But it's more about the left is starting to lose the discussion.
Yeah.
And it's not about the sports.
Yeah.
I am telling you, it is not about the
it's
sports.
bigger than that.
It is about convincing another generation to accept things that undermine the basic foundations of a civil society. And so we need to call. I saw a video that just horrified me. It was a little girl in some drag show, and she was dancing. She couldn't have been more than about 4 or 5. And then a drag queen dude throwing money at her, and all of the parents and all of the adults cheering wildly.
Straight to jail.
Yeah.
Directly to jail. All of them.
I mean,
all of them.
What kind of parent? Because now you've got 4-year-olds, so the parents are probably in the late 20s. They're in the generation that has bought into this. That's what this is about. All right. Let's cover the news that's happening around the area, around the country. Just Ted, got some thoughts? I know you do.
Now that I'm mad.
Yeah, 314-912-1019. This is 1019-941 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Blue Oyster Cult is back live. Friday, October 4th at the Family Arena. With special guests, Tommy DiCarlo, a former lead singer of Boston, and Jason Sheff, longtime lead singer of Chicago. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office, located at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster. Blue Oyster Cult, the Roots and Boots Tour, 90s Electric Throwdown. With Sammy Kershaw.
That's my story.
Colin Ray.
Oh, that's my story.
And Aaron Tippett.
She ain't a Cadillac.
Saturday, November 9th at the Family Arena.
But there ain't nothing wrong with
Reserve seats on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office, located at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster. Roots and Boots Tour, 90s Electric Throwdown.
Dive into adventure with Great American Divers. We're your local veteran-owned scuba center offering PADI certification courses, equipment repairs, and dive travel opportunities. From beginners to experts, we got you covered. Kids can join our SEAL Team classes, and we even host pool parties. Our experienced staff is passionate about teaching, and we're the only center in the area with our own indoor heated pool. Great American Divers on Central School Road in St. Charles. Visit greatamericandivers.com. Great American Divers, where adventure runs deep.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
Hello, fans of the paranormal. I'm Frankie, host of the newest show on News Talk STL, On a Garage. And we'll be discussing everything paranormal, from ghosts, demons, hauntings, and aliens to skinwalker, Bigfoot, fairies, and the Chupacabra. Every Saturday night between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., me and Jeremy will discuss mysterious events in St. Louis and surrounding areas, including gateway families and unsolved true crimes. That's right. It's all right here exclusively on News Talk STL from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Saturday night.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at newstalkstl.com.
I get knocked down.
Stop it. Stop it.
My favorite part of this song is the fact that you could clearly hear the British accent in their singing. Because if you've ever noticed, there are a lot of British singers whose accent kind of disappears when they sing.
Yeah, that's true.
For these guys, it's like, I think it's more than their speaking voice. I'll get knocked down. Knock it up again.
Very Cockney.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because like this song, and I will tell you, this was such a huge song. It's an earworm, and we're going to be hearing it the rest of the day. I despise this song. You know,
that's why I put it in.
I know. It's like, I was like, the thing you like about it is like, watch me. But it's funny because like all of us Americans didn't realize that the word pissing is used differently in the UK.
Yeah.
When they say pissing the night away, that means drinking.
Yes.
I mean, that literally means just getting your ale or your beer and having at it.
When they talk about getting pissed, they mean getting drunk.
Right.
Yes.
Precisely. I don't know. I think I was in college when this song came out. All right, 6:51 right now. We are still going to continue that discussion. 7:05. What did you think of that debate last night? Iran steps up its attack on Israel. The attack is ineffective, thank God. And the Blues get their last warm-up before the season starts. Let's do the news dump.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
You know, I mean, they got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, search and rescue efforts now obviously underway around the country after Hurricane Helene went through parts of the South and the Southeast. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas details what are likely to be the costs of all of these efforts.
This is a multi-billion-dollar undertaking in terms of the search and rescue and the response.
Okay, the numbers are going to be changing, but at last check, the number of confirmed deaths as a result of the storm is now over 140.
Oh my gosh.
That number is likely to even go up throughout the morning hours. The sun is coming up on the East Coast right now, and so they are, not to be too blunt about it, but they're going to be finding more victims.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying, as the water recedes and things start becoming clear, all the people who are missing are going to become accounted for. Either they managed to get out and they found their way someplace, or they didn't, and they're going to be added to that body count.
Okay, the vice presidential nominees engaged in, I think what we can all agree was a very calm and a very civil debate. That aspect of the debate, I think, is what we should want.
Yes.
In a debate. And it was very different than what we're seeing in other parts of this campaign.
The tone of the J.D. Vance-Tim Walz debate was strikingly polite and respectful in the polarized environment of the 2024 campaign.
I've enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think there was a lot of commonality.
I think that Governor Walz and I actually probably agree that we need to do better on this.
But the friendly discussion did not shy away from sharp differences between the two campaigns on a host of issues, including guns.
We unfortunately have a mental health crisis in this country.
Sometimes it just is the guns.
Instead of aiming their attacks at each other, the two VP hopefuls went after each other's running mates. Greg Clugston, New York.
And 7:05, we're going to be talking about that with our very own Chris Arps. Want your hot takes? Put them in the Facebook comments, put them in the Rumble chat box, tweet them at us, or give us a call 314-912-1019. Iran launches another missile attack on Israel, and they really tried to step it up, but it looks like it did not do the damage that they had hoped, thank God. President Biden gives an update on the U.S. response to that attack. He said this at the White House.
At my direction, the United States military actively supported the defense of Israel, and we're still assessing the impact. But based on what we know now, the attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective.
And Israel continues a ground invasion into Lebanon, where the Iranian proxies are working out of with safe haven from Lebanon.
I said this on Twitter, and I'm going to say it again. 4 years ago, we had the Abraham Accords.
Right.
We went from the Abraham Accords to this.
Yeah.
That if that doesn't tell you all you need to know about what's going on in DC, I don't know what does.
That was a pretty large scale missile attack that Iran launched.
Oh yeah, well, it's millions and millions of dollars of unfrozen assets coming back across the border.
And Israel's defense is just second to none.
Yes,
but at some point you have to understand that one of these things is going to get through someday.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the thing is the hit rate for the interceptors and all that, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect system. So obviously they're just trying to overwhelm with numbers, and eventually something's going to fall. Somebody's going to die.
All right. Looking for a job? You both better say no. St. Charles County actually supports their first responders, and they are looking for people to support them. The county is hosting a job fair today at the Missouri Job Center. That's over on Harry Truman Boulevard in St. Charles. That's going to run from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Among the jobs that they need filled, 911 dispatchers, corrections officers, and of course, things like parks and street department workers. Go to St. Charles County's website and you can find more information on that. All right. It was a birthday yesterday. Did you know that? Former President Jimmy Carter turned 100 years old. He is the first president to ever reach that milestone. His grandson, Jason Carter, was on Your World with Neil Cavuto on Fox, and he had this to say on what he hopes his his grandfather's legacy is.
One of the great things about my grandfather is politicians from all across the political spectrum will tell you, I disagree with him on this, but he's a good man. Or I do agree with him on these things, but not these, right? I mean, and we have the ability as Americans and as people to have those kind of conversations. It doesn't have to be vitriol all the time.
Yeah, I mean, was Jimmy Carter a good, effective president? No,
not at all.
Was he, is he basically considered a very, very nice man? Yes.
Oh yeah. Sure.
I think some of his positions he took were just on the wrong side of things, not just politically or policy, but his siding with the Palestinians against Israel, I think was very tragic. But I understand why he was the man at the time, because remember with Gerald Ford, that was the last fallout of the Nixon impeachment.
Right.
And people were ready for a change and to change, turn the page.
That's usually what happens.
That's what happened.
Right? Yeah.
And Jimmy Carter was the personality, was the type of person that people wanted to make that transition. So was he the right guy at the right time? Looking back in history, yeah, maybe. Probably. One term, he was obviously ineffective, and that opened the door for the Reagan Revolution right after that. All right.
Thank you, Jimmy, for that.
Yeah, there's that. All right. In preseason play, the Blues lost to the Blue Jackets at Enterprise Center last night, preseason, so the game doesn't mean anything. Final was 3-1. Justin Falk scored St. Louis's only goal. Here we go. That was last preseason. So the Blues open the season on the road this Saturday. They are going up to Chi-Town, taking on the Blackhawks in Chicago.
Let's go.
NHL season is underway. I think the opening puck drop in the league, is tomorrow. I think either tomorrow or Friday.
Is that the overseas one, Gabe?
I think so.
Okay.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
Looking for a top-quality tactical gear and expert advice? Look no further than Discount Tactical, your one-stop shop for all things firearms and self-defense. Located in the heart of Warrenton, we've been serving the community for 3 years with our friendly, professional, and knowledgeable staff. From custom AR builds and silencers to the largest selection of parts, we've got you covered. Self-defense weapons, SBRs, knives, ammo, custom holsters, weapon lights, optics, and body armor. Discount Tactical. Online at discounttacticalarmory.com or stop by today and gear up with confidence.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Israel is pursuing ground operations while carrying out airstrikes overnight in a hard-hit city in southern Gaza. At the same time, the Israelis promise retaliation for Iran's ballistic missile attack. And the pollsters have been talking with Americans about the Mideast crisis.
It's been about a year since the beginning of the war between Israel and Hamas, and a new survey by the Pearson Institute, the Associated Press, and the Nork Center for Public Affairs Research finds that Democrats are more likely to be critical of Israel, while Republicans are more supportive of Israel. The survey was conducted from September 12th to the 16th, before Israel's military escalated its operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon, and before Iran launched missiles at Israel. Donna Warder, Washington.
Not surprisingly, the two vice presidential hopefuls differ on January 6th and what poses the greatest threat to democracy. White House correspondent Greg Clugston covered last night's debate in New York.
During a polite, even friendly debate, the most tense exchange came near the end when Republican J.D. Vance and Democrat Tim Walz discussed certifying the results of the presidential election 4 years ago.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
The two also sparred over abortion, housing, and health care. Greg Clugston, New York.
While unionized longshoremen walk picket lines on the East and the Gulf Coast, their leaders seem to revel in the pain the strike will potentially inflict upon Americans. It's day 2 of the dock workers' walkout. Apparently no attempt by the White House to mandate a cooling-off period under the Taft-Hartley Act. Watching Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures down 151 points. The NASDAQ futures off 23. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll discover what it's like to feel better. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4RELIEF.
In the new movie, Vindicating Trump, Dinesh D'Souza uncovers the truth behind the Democrats' war on Trump.
Trump has beaten back every attack against him.
The goal is to put him in jail because they're so afraid of his voice.
They cheat in many different ways. That's all they're good at. I want the power just to make the country better.
They fear that power.
Vindicating Trump in theaters nationwide now. Get tickets today at vindicatingtrump.com. Rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
There is some wow in this Wednesday forecast. It's gorgeous out there. After a chilly start in the 40s, we climbed to 74 this afternoon under sunny skies, just a light south wind. This air is really dry. 60s this evening before we drop to 53 early Thursday morning. 80s are coming back tomorrow afternoon, mostly sunny Thursday and a high of 83. I think those 80s are going to stick around all the way through the weekend, too. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL, brought to you by Jewels on Hampton, paying some of the highest prices for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Call 314-752-5000 or visit jewelsonhampton.com.
Replacing your roof is always a big deal and a big decision. That's why I want you to call my friends, the folks that we've trusted with our homestead, Eureka Contracting and Roofing. 636-938-ROOF. That's 636-938-ROOF. They are veteran-owned, over 30 years of experience in the construction and insurance industry. They'll replace 100% of your roof, siding, fascia, and gutters. They'll come to you with a personal consultation. Give them a call anytime that Mother Nature strikes you. 636-938-ROOF. Available 24/7 at eurekacontracting.com. That's eurekacontracting.com.
Navigating healthcare can be tricky, but you don't have to do it alone. The Navigator Project is here to help Missourians every step of the way. We provide free, personalized assistance with enrollment in the healthcare marketplace. We'll guide you through your options, help find the right plan, and get the coverage you need. Go to ma4web.org and select the Services tab to find a navigator. Brought to you by the Missouri Association of Area Agencies on Aging.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you! Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
I hate to start off the hour like this. I just got fact checked.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Saturday's game is still preseason.
Oh, is it?
They don't start the season yet.
Oh.
I thought my app was wrong. I could have sworn that my app was wrong. That's where I get all this. But then I checked it again after my friend Matt just texted me. He's like, he just texted me. He goes, hey, this is Margaret, your fact checker. Blues game on Saturday, still preseason. They start Tuesday in Seattle. And
oh, yeah, that's right. Because they've got this weird structure now where technically the regular season will have started Friday because of the foreign games. There are going to be 2 foreign games. Yeah. So technically the season will have started, but all the other teams are still going to be in preseason.
So Blues still have a preseason.
It's still a weird little
So hey, I'll admit it. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a knucklehead sometimes. There it goes.
You're a knucklehead. Are we going to have to cut that sound so that we can use it every once in a while?
Here's the funny.
I'm a knucklehead sometimes.
The funny thing is that truly is one of my favorite words.
Yeah.
It's silly and goofy enough. And I thought now, again, I am not saying that I think Tim Walz was right about stuff.
Oh gosh, no.
But I thought he used it perfectly because literally he was being called out for lying about his experience with another nation.
So he minimized it, obviously.
Absolutely.
by just calling himself a knucklehead.
Yep.
So he's like, he's just being a self-deprecating guy. Like,
right.
Yeah, for the low information voter, that actually may go over.
Because that's what these debates remember. So many times you talk about the high information voters, which would be the people who are listening and watching us right now.
That's us. Mm-hmm.
Those are the high information voters. And there also are high information voters who are wrong, who are listening to other sources.
They have a lot of bad information.
Right. But they're high information voters. And that's not who the debates are for. Right. They are for the people either in the mushy middle, the very few people out there who maybe haven't decided yet, or the people who are trying to decide whether it's worth it to show up or not. And we can talk about who was right and who was wrong, and we'll definitely do that. But when you talk about who won or who lost, my caution to everybody is don't just think about who got their facts correct or who had the best zinger or who had the best retort. Talk about who came across as more attractive to the voters.
Right.
Okay. So what's your hot take on last night's vice presidential debate? We are still taking those on social media. You can give us a call 314-912-1019. By the way, still ahead here. Who's the greedy bad guy in the port workers strike? This really matters because we're probably going to feel it here. Now, it could be weeks before we do, but we're likely to feel it here. So the facts that we're getting about this may change your mind on some things. So we'll do that around 7:20. Joined now by the one and the only Chris Arps right here. And Chris, let me start with the premise. Unlike the moderators last night, I'm going to let you challenge the premise if you want. And that is the premise about who won or who lost It's not just about who got the facts right or who was technically right about this or that or the other. When it comes to the purpose of these debates, it's who was more attractive to the voters. That's how the campaigns are going to look at these things.
I think that's correct, Mike. I think if you look at just raw style debating points, I think Vance clearly won the debate. Yep. You look at the two, they were contrasted together throughout the night. J.D. Vance looked very confident. Walz looked nervous. He was constantly looking over at J.D. Vance. He was constantly taking notes. I don't think I saw J.D. Vance take a note once during the entire debate. As I said, J.D. Vance won, but I think J.D. Vance's mission last night was twofold. One, he wanted to contrast Harris and Walz and Biden's record because Donald Trump failed to do that in his debate with Kamala Harris. And I think, two, he wanted to present a softer, gentler side to himself. We've heard all the criticism from the cat lady comments and all of that. And so even if you look at it subconsciously and from a stylistic point of view, from his clothing, you know, most of the time Democrats will wear blue ties, Republicans will wear red ties at these type of events. J.D. Vance had a magenta tie on, and I think that was appealed to women. And if you look at Margaret Brennan's dress, it was a magenta color as well.
I just want to point out that I'm going to say that you look at it as magenta. I look at it as a Bret the Hitman Hart hot pink. That's what I'm saying.
Bret the
I'm
Hitman
going with
Hart
that.
pink.
I was trying to be kind.
Good morning, Chris. Gabe
It's just
here.
manlier when you
Yeah,
say it like
it
that.
is manlier when you say Bret the Hitman Hart. Yeah. But one of the things I noticed was a distinctly different debating style here, and both men kind of used this tactic where they conceded an agreement point.
Mm-hmm.
And then went on to make a distinction. Just tell us how did that change in style hit you versus what we've been seeing, you know, in the course of many debates over the last few cycles here.
I think it was very smart, especially for J.D. Vance. They've been demonizing him ever since he was picked as the vice presidential nominee. They made him as anti-women, you know, against women and everything. I think showing that showed a lot of empathy to agree with the under candidate like that and make his point. But I think he was trying to show that, you know, a lot of folks think that Donald Trump sometimes could be kind of reckless and is out of control. I think that's just part of who he is. And I think J.D. Vance was trying to show a contrast that even though he is the younger man and is in second command, the vice president, he'll be a more calming influence on Donald Trump if he's reelected president.
Hey, good morning, Chris Stell here. You said second in command. This was my thought after the debate was over. For the low information voters who just tuned in or maybe listen on the radio, I wonder how many of them were thinking, okay, who would I like to see take over as president if something happens to the president? And I think JD totally won on that particular item because I think a lot of people would have said, you know what, I'd rather have J.D. Vance taken over rather than Tim Walz if something happens.
Yeah, he looked very measured. He looked like a politician. He looked like a future president. And as you guys know, there's a lot of talk and speculation that if Donald Trump is elected president, that J.D. Vance will be next in line and would probably be the nominee in 2028. So when it comes to stylistic points in that sense, I think he did very, very well for himself and for the Trump campaign.
One other thing, by the way, I also want to interject. Him going after Margaret Brennan was awesome. I love the way that he stepped in there and said, hey, wait a minute. We've got all this, the border app kind of thing going on here. We need to really get to the bottom of this for a second. I love the fact that he actually stopped her and said, let's get to the bottom of this first before you move on.
Those in the afternoon have heard me rail on Margaret Brennan over and over and over. She is the moderator for Face the Nation on Sunday morning, and that's her specialty, especially when it comes to Republican politicians, is she feels the need to have to fact check them while they are speaking. But when it comes to Democratic politicians, it's not done as much. And in the Trump era, they feel that the public is so stupid, we're all dumb, that they need to fact check and tell us what the truth is. And it's very insulting because people that watch Sunday morning programs like that are people that are engaged usually and informed, and they can tell BS and they don't need the moderators doing that for them. You know, I remember back in the day how they used to do those shows is you would have the Democrat on, you have the Republican on, the moderator would ask the questions, even if they told something that was not true or was not all the way true, they would let them say it and then let the politician coming on next fact check the guests on what they said. Now, moderators feel they have to be the fact checkers and the questioners as well.
Like,
I think it's bad for journalism.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what there is left of journalism. We're visiting with Chris Arps. You can hear him every afternoon with Tim Jones from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And that was one of the things to follow up what Stell just said, Tim, or excuse me, Chris. To follow up what Stell just said is they tried to insert, well, we're going to, and JD Vance called him out on that, said, wait a minute, we all agreed on a set of rules. You said you weren't going to do this, but since you did, here's this. But it seems to me that what they did, and these moderators were not as atrocious as the moderators in the Trump versus Harris debate, but they were still in a, 50 shades of atrociousness. They were in there as well. But so I don't want anybody to think I thought they did a good job. I don't, but they weren't as atrocious. But they built in their so-called fact checking into the premises of the questions. Yeah, that's what they did. So tell me, we know that, science says, climate change is destroying it. And so you couldn't give an objective answer unless you accepted or debated the premise of their question in certain ways. And that's how they built that in. So it was a kinder, gentler bias that was built in to the way that this was done.
But still a bias.
And I agree, Chris. I think that I thought Tim Walz, just from a performance and being attractive to voters, I thought Tim Walz held his own. I think he was wrong about basically everything, but I think he held his own. But clearly JD Vance was head and shoulders above, and JD Vance clearly won, not just based on the content, but I think he won based on the presentation. I think he won based on likability. I think that JD Vance just won all the way around on that debate.
And the most important thing out of that, as I said earlier, a lot of folks believe that Donald Trump missed a great opportunity to contrast the Harris-Walz campaign during their last debate. And Tim Walz JD Vance was able to do that in this debate, got a lot of the contrast in. I tell you, I know you guys couldn't come out last night because you have to wake up early. We were at Johnny's hideout watching the debate. And I'm telling you, when Margaret Brennan did her fact check, and even before JD Vance called her out, everyone at Johnny's just howled out.
Hey,
wait a minute, what about the fact check? You're fact checking.
Hey, Chris, did all of Johnny's TVs survive the night when they
they didn't get anything thrown at them?
No, they didn't. There were some protective screens around them just in case, but we were good.
So, Chris, did this debate move the needle?
That's a good question. I don't know. We'll know in the next few days when polls come out. I think when it comes to did Walz reassure the American people that they can be leaders and that they have answered their flip-flops and what their policies are? No, not at all. When it comes to JD Vance, maybe showing a softer, gentler side to himself and maybe convincing some of those suburban moms that he's not the monster that the Democrats portray him as, maybe. But we'll see in the next few days when the polls come out.
All right, Chris Arps, hear him every afternoon, 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. A little bit early in the day. I don't know what you've got planned, but anything we should look for, particularly today. I'm sure you're going to be picking apart the answers in the debate and doing even more in-depth follow-up. But what else is going on?
Most definitely. We will be recapping debate as usual with Tim at 4 o'clock. And then on Wednesdays at 4:25, we have Zach Smith with the Heritage Foundation. He's our weekly guest talking about law and politics. And there's a lot of lawfare that's going on right before an election. And we'll talk with Zach about that at 4:25.
All right, the one and only Chris Arps. You can find him tagged on our social media already. We'll look for this afternoon. Thanks again, Chris. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Gentlemen, thank you. Have a great day.
All right, 314-912-1019. You agree? You disagree? It's one of those where I suspect both sides are, claiming a victory. By the way, did you see that one congressman, a Republican congressman, set his tweet to go out? He put 7 a.m. instead of like 7 something p.m. And he goes, I can't believe anybody would watch this debate and think that Tim Walz is ready to be president. And, he talked about how J.D. Vance cleaned his clock and everything, and it went out at 7 a.m. yesterday. And people were like, come on, dude.
Oh, no, you just showed your hand.
And then he went, sorry, I reset it. I'll delete it, send it out later. It's like, dude,
no,
that's not what
you totally messed it up now. It's done. You can't take, there's no backseats.
No. All right. Who's the big greedy monster in this port workers debate? We've got more information now. And let me tell you something. It may change your mind on this labor versus big bad management situation. We'll tell you about that around 7:22.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You want to give me more information? You want to take the place of what I trust? Turn on your colored box, you look for some answers. For false impressions, well, baby, they will last forever. Stop right now!
On the next Larry Connors USA.
Never Trumper John LaBoutiere evaluates last night's debate. Will you agree with John or curse him?
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Attention thrill seekers and fun lovers. Did you know the Midwest's largest wooden roller rink is right here in Missouri? Welcome to Piccadilly Palace, your ultimate family entertainment destination. Glide across our massive skating floor, conquer arcade challenges, put your way through mini golf, and dive into cutting-edge virtual reality experiences. And coming soon, a relaxing bar and grill patio, state-of-the-art golf simulators, and heart-pounding 2-story go-kart racing next to East Central College in Union, Missouri. Plan your visit now at PiccadillyPalace.com. That's PiccadillyPalace.com.
Now until September 30th at Seavers JCB, take advantage of financing as low as 0% on JCB skid steer loaders, compact track loaders, and teleskid models. The JCB Teleskid is the world's first and only skid steer loader and compact track loader with a telescoping boom, allowing it to lift higher, reach further, and dig deeper than any skid steer on the market. Access work sites and perform tasks that are not possible with a conventional skid steer machine. Check them out at SeaversJCB.com.
Tim Jones here for AMF Electric, in business since 1965, offering a full line of industrial, commercial, residential, electrical, and system services. AMF is a merit shop. They work successfully for all owners who favor freedom of economic choice. Yes, even on other AFL trades jobs. At AMF Electric, they're unabashedly pro-American. Call them 314-647-4066. Online, amfelectric.com. That's amfelectric.com.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby. Only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh, no. It's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
News Talk STL.
First thing in the morning and pretty much all day.
Live and local. 1019 and 94.1. News Talk STL.
Hey there, Tim Jones here. Make sure you join me and my buddy Chris Arps this afternoon from 4 until 6 p.m. right here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Right now, let's get back to more of Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Those greedy corporations.
Yeah. Boo on those guys.
Darn management.
Boo on them.
Yeah.
So mean. So
Really?
greedy.
Yeah. All right. So who's the bad guy in the port worker strike that could kneecap our economy?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Sorry. All right. Well, let's get to that here in a second, because what I'm about to tell you might actually make you think twice if you're one of those people who just automatically assumes that the workers in the union are the downtrodden victims here.
Right.
There's a little more to it than that. Also, still ahead here. Now, on the Missouri side in particular, come November 5th, we're not just voting. We're going to be voting on how we're voting. 7:35, let's talk about Amendment 7, and I'm going to make sense of that. Tell you what Amendment 7 is all about from the people who are actually putting it on the ballot.
All right.
We'll find out what they want to do with it, and we'll ask them some challenging questions, because there are some amendments that we just absolutely unapologetically say, please defeat this. Vote no.
Amendment 3 for one.
Amendment 3, absolutely. Amendment 7 might be one where you say, okay, maybe there is a good amendment out there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one. All right, so we'll talk about that in just about 11 minutes here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Okay, so the more you know about this port workers strike, the more I think the union just looks like the bad guy here.
Yeah.
On this. So we heard from Sean Higgins a little bit earlier in the program, like an hour and a half ago, from Competitive Enterprise Institute, and we have Sean on from time to time. He posted just in the last 24 hours, 36 hours, something like that. He posted an article at CEI.org looking into, okay, what's this really all about? Yes, it's about the money because they had a 6-year contract that I guess everybody honored, and the contract expired at the end of Monday, which is why the strike started at midnight on Tuesday. So now it comes down to they're disagreeing on the next contract.
Right.
So CEI and Sean looked into it and said the workers were offered a 50% raise over the next 5 years. So basically 10% a year.
10% a year, which compounds,
right?
To be fair. So then it ends up being a larger than 50%
Right.
increase over time.
Right. Because if you take 100 and you add a 50%, so then it's 150, but then you take 50% of 150, or excuse me, 10% of the next, it's a little bit higher.
It's a little bit higher. Yeah.
But all of that's just details here. So the union is demanding a 77% raise over 5 years. And you're thinking, but these guys are barely making it. I mean, they're only making like $25,000 a year to do this horrible, dirty physical work.
And they got to keep up with inflation and all these other
Right.
things. Yeah, it's like that's what you'd think originally, right?
So Sean dug into it and he said, you know what the actual port workers
Yes.
make
The
on average?
Average.
Now we're talking the port workers here.
Yes. The ones are actually on the docks,
Right.
moving the things, working the machines to move the
Yeah.
the giant containers. and all that
Demanding the
stuff.
77% raise, saying 50% is not good enough. We're walking on the job. And by the way, the union boss is his tactic. He's made it very clear. I want to cripple the economy and destroy people throughout the rest of the country in order to leverage and get my workers the 77% raise, plus protecting them from basically technology and actual real world.
Yeah. So give me what I want, or America gets it.
Right. And the average salary that these port workers are making, $150,000 a year.
$150,000.
Because I had to double check that, and I had to look at his source, and his source comes from Barron's, who researched it as well. And so that's one of his sources. Now, and I saw another news article saying, well, the average union in the ILA makes $81,000 a year, which, by the way, is a good salary in most parts of the country, no matter what.
Right.
Now, you get into New York City, 81,000 is not going to get you very far. But, you or look up and down the Eastern Seaboard, especially in the South, 81,000. But that's the union membership.
Right.
Not just the port workers.
Right.
The port workers themselves, on average, make $150,000. And they want to go cry to the cameras saying a 50% raise is not enough when the rest of us have our wages not keeping up with inflation. Who's the greedy bastard now? Who's the bad guy now?
Can we talk a little? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and in addition to that, they are demanding that they be protected from automation.
Right.
So they say, and boss, you can't become as profitable as you might be because we don't want more robots doing the jobs more efficiently, safer, less expensively. We don't want more technology doing what we can do the old-fashioned way, the same way that it was done back in 1732 here on the East Coast. We don't want you moving towards 2030, 2040, 2050 technology. We want to make sure that we're going to hand do it and do it more dangerously at a time as well. So who's the bad guy here?
Yeah.
And if you think I've got it all wrong, 314-912-1019. At first I was like, this is terrible. We're all going to feel this. Boy, they got to get this figured out. Then I start finding out more about it. And I'm thinking, no, I know that the union now is the bad guy in this.
While we're discussing salaries, Harold Daggett, who is the chief negotiator individual,
the president of the union or whatever he is. Yeah.
Terry Christoph on Red State looked into a New York Times article regarding his salary And despite his blue collar credentials, quote unquote,
He's got a goatee, though. He's clearly one of the people.
he earned $728,000 last year, plus another $173,000 as president emeritus of a local union branch. That's according to Politico. And he, according to the New York Times, previously owned a 76-foot yacht, the Obsession, and has been spotted by his members riding in a Bentley around town.
Oh, a good American-made car. Wait.
No, wait a minute.
By the way,
Nice
okay.
British car.
So that compound, this is what they were offered. This was the deal.
50% raise.
This is the deal that they refused. So that the average worker making $150,000 a year, if you get a 10% raise every year for 5 years, that's going to give you somewhere on the order of $240,000 a year at their salary in 5 years. So in 2029, one of these dock workers will be making $240,000 so a year, and the average one. And that was the deal they refused. That was the deal they said wasn't good enough. So you know who doesn't make $240,000 a year?
Me.
Rocket scientists.
There you go. Yeah.
Excuse me, but no, get off your high horse, guys.
That's right. And here's the other side of this too. 45,000 people have walked out the job.
Oh my gosh. Right. Because in solidarity with the full union.
Right.
45,000.
Now they've all been offered a 50% raise, or at least the port workers, the bulk of them have.
Yeah.
25,000, I think, are direct port workers, maybe more. So you're talking massive amounts of money, and basically the union showing we couldn't care less what actually happens. There are in one port, I think there's already 38 ships that are now anchored in the ocean, whereas there was a line of like 2 or 3 2 days ago.
The possible loss right now is like $1 billion a day nationwide.
I actually think it's more than that.
Yeah.
But
I should say it's in the billions.
Yeah. Oh, it's in the billions. But by the time this is completely up and running, you're looking at $4.5 billion a day.
Mm-hmm.
That, by the way, you don't just okay, now we're going to make up that later. That's not how that works.
No. This isn't like when the government shutdowns and the workers get furloughed, but their money's just kind of held and then they get it back. And the dam breaks and everything. No, this money is lost.
Yeah.
This value, this economic value is lost.
Oh, they will almost certainly get their the back pay.
They're going to get their back pay,
which they shouldn't. You walk off the job.
You shouldn't.
Why am I going to pay you for when you didn't work?
No.
That should not be part of it. You went to that tactic, especially.
Here's the sacrifice.
Somebody hold the line against one of these ridiculous things. If there's a valid reason for the strike, that's the one.
Sure.
That's not what we have right now.
No,
we do not have that.
Our friend Jay Monty, who lives down in Georgia,
yeah,
he has items that he's needed to be shipped over here that were supposed to come in on eastern ports over the next week or so. He's trying to get them diverted to western ports like Seattle. So instead of Savannah and other ports on the East Coast, he's got to look at ports from California up to Washington to try to get that stuff in from the West Coast.
So then you either go through the Panama Canal or you go around the tip of South America.
Oh my.
Yeah. Hey guys, the difference in what they were asking for versus what they were getting is the average salary for Americans.
Of course. On top of what
they're already getting.
Jeez. All right. In Missouri, we're going to vote on how to vote. Amendment 7. What is this thing? Because the media isn't quite sure how to spin this and try to get you to dismiss it. Let's get the facts about it at 7:35.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
There is some wow in this Wednesday forecast. It's gorgeous out there. After a chilly start in the 40s, we climbed to 74 this afternoon under sunny skies, just a light south wind. This air is really dry. 60s this evening before we drop to 53 early Thursday morning. 80s are coming back tomorrow afternoon, mostly sunny Thursday and a high of 83. I think those 80s are going to stick around all the way through the weekend, too. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Ready to soar beyond your limits? The U.S. Air Force and Space Force offer more than just a job. It's a launch pad for your future. With over 200 career paths, competitive pay, benefits, free education, 30 days paid vacation, and a chance to travel the globe, all while serving your country with pride. Your journey starts here. Call Jeremy Jefferson in St. Louis at 314-295-6834 or visit airforce.com and spaceforce.com today.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent Jewelers, locally owned for almost 45 years. Vincent Jewelers, the official jeweler of Larry Connor's USA. Check for daily specials at vincentjewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
Regardless of what happens in the presidential race, I want a full congressional investigation of Tim Walz and his connections with China. There is a disturbing report that needs to be either properly verified or properly debunked by facts, not opinions, and not lies. Alpha News is an organization based in Minnesota. Alpha News claims to be independent journalists covering stories ignored by the mainstream, such as this. They are quoting someone who claims he was in the National Guard with Walz. The source is not fully identified, so there's that, as to maybe questions about the validity of his statements. Yet he claims that their battalion got upgraded howitzers that had nuclear capabilities. And then a classified document on those artilleries went missing. And he says that happened about the time Walz had just been on one of his trips to China. Let me stress, there is no proof, none, that Walz took the info, much less gave it to China. But apparently shortly after the info went missing, China had similar weapons. We should not convict Walz of any wrongdoing based on this information, but we should demand a full inquiry. Let's get some solid answers.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
What can AI do for your business? Well, my friends at PRI Global can help you with artificial intelligence. In fact, they have an AI innovation lab that develops cutting-edge tools tailored to meet the needs of your company. While many AI companies overpromise and underdeliver, PRI is your trusted, reliable partner. PRIglobal.ai. PRIglobal.ai.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
All right, who gets to vote and how we vote is also on the ballot itself. That doesn't make any sense. Let's make some sense of that. All right, it is 7:38 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe here. Got Stell here. Don't forget, Flashback Friday coming up Let's do it on Friday this week. What do you say?
All right, that's a good idea.
We'll do Flashback Friday on Friday.
Yeah, this time around.
Get your. I just said that. I'm like, why do I say stupid stuff like that sometimes?
Because you're a knucklehead.
It's because I'm a knucklehead. It's like I actually caught myself one time, I don't know, some public figure. I'm like, yeah, I interviewed him once before he died. Well, of course I did.
It was definitely.
I didn't
before he
interview
died.
him after he died.
No, that's what Democrats do.
All right, but get your 80s bump music requests in. Got to get those in by early tomorrow afternoon if you want them considered for this Friday's Flashback Friday show. All right, joined now by Spencer Bone from the Liberty Alliance. Spencer, appreciate you being on the show here because there's a lot of discussion, rightly so, about Amendment 3. We're starting to see a lot of ads being aired on Amendment 2, and next week we're going to hear more about Amendment 2. But I'm trying to go through all of these ballot measures that people are going to see because my fear, Spencer, is that people are going to show up at the poll and go, "Oh, what's this? I don't know what this is." So let's get the information out there. And Amendment 7 has to do with voting on this. So basically, here are the bullet points where we're going to start, guys. This deals with putting it in the state constitution that only citizens are allowed to vote in Missouri. And then this would ban most ranked choice voting. And I'll get to the exception here in a minute. And then, of course, it deals with primaries as well. So, Spencer, appreciate you being on the program here. We're going to give out your website and social media information, everything. So why do we need an Amendment 7? I mean, we've got 3 different main parts here that are based on voting. So it all is one category because that's a problem with other amendments. But this is one category of voting. Why do we need a state constitutional amendment regarding voting in Missouri right now?
Yeah, well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on. I'm a big fan of the show. First time calling in. So thank you for the opportunity. I'll start with the why behind the effort to implement such changes. So let's just go over the state of things as it pertains to Missouri. So over the past decade, Missouri has gotten more conservative. We have majorities in both chambers. All of our statewide office holders are conservative, and we have 6 of our 8 congressmen. Missouri is overwhelmingly conservative, and the left can't stand it. Their messaging and their candidates have been rejected time and time again. So the only way that they can even change the status quo is to change the rules of the game, which is why we're seeing a concerted effort, not just in Missouri, but across the country to implement schemes like non-citizen and ranked choice voting. And so let's talk about only citizens voting first. That's just common sense. Americans should be the only ones deciding American elections. Missourians should be the only ones deciding Missouri elections. And so that's a effort. That's a stat that 89% of Americans agree upon.
Hey,
So that's just
Spencer,
common
let me jump in real quick because one of the things that we've heard from the media on that, they're saying that's already against the law for non-citizens to vote. And that's one of the things that they're trying to push back. They're like, if it's already illegal, why are we putting into the state constitution if it's already illegal? Because I'm sure you're getting that question.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. So our Constitution has language very similar to how California addresses non-citizen citizen voting. And so last year, through Lacey versus City of San Francisco, California judges ruled that cities may allow non-citizens to vote under language similar to Missouri's. The courts ruled that language does not prohibit cities from extending the ability to vote to non-citizens. So changing the word where it currently says in our Constitution from all to only will address that fact. So that's why we have to get that changed, changing that word from all to only.
Good morning, Spencer. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So, looking at the ranked choice voting part of the amendment proposal here, one of the things that's stated is the reason to ban ranked choice voting in particular is because its complicated nature counts. Because of its complicated nature, counts cannot be quickly verified, and recounts are impossible. Now, I've got my own criticisms of ranked choice voting, but I hadn't heard that one. Could you explain that one for me?
Yeah. So recounts, we're seeing delays up to 15 days in places like Alaska. But one shocking factor that you all need to know about is a couple years ago in Oakland, California, officials were mistakenly rejected hundreds of votes for a school board race. Nobody caught it until after the results had been certified and the wrong person had been declared the winner of a school board race. Worse still, it took an outside audit from RCV specialists to recognize this issue. And in the end, it took 4 months and a lawsuit from the true winner of the race to clear up that mess. So yeah, delays can happen from 15 days all the way up to 4 months in some cases. Now, I don't know about you, but I think we all deserve elections that are transparent and that are timely and are accurate. And RCV just doesn't deliver on any of those.
Yeah, on ranked choice voting, and there's some other names you can use on it. Now, with Amendment 7, the city of St. Louis already uses that. So I know that this makes room for that because it doesn't overturn what St. Louis does, but it would at least prohibit it everywhere else. If I'm correct about that?
Correct. So the next thing that will have to happen is the municipalities will have to outright ban it themselves. And so that's the next fight in this step in terms of banning ranked choice voting for good.
Good morning, Spencer. Stal Ponticus here. Speaking of ranked choice voting, could you give us some feedback about how it's gone in Alaska and Maine and a few of the other areas where they've done this already? And it looks as though it was a disaster in those areas because folks got into office who you didn't expect them to win, and all of a sudden they're in office.
Correct. I mean, one thing about ranked choice voting, it claims that it brings a true majority of support behind one candidate, but that couldn't be more true. In fact, through ranked choice voting, if you don't pick all the candidates that are available, a bunch of picks and ballots are eliminated from even consideration. And so we're seeing from upwards between 9 and 27% of votes cast thrown out. And yes, anywhere that it's implemented, Maine, Alaska, there are people fighting like crazy to get it overturned because of such a disaster that it's been in its current jurisdiction. So it's been a disaster everywhere it's been. It's a 100% failure rate, and that's why we can't have it in this state.
We are visiting with Spencer Bone from Liberty Alliance, and they are encouraging a yes vote on Amendment 7. So we've already talked about making the Missouri Constitution say that only citizens are allowed to vote in elections in Missouri, and banning ranked choice voting throughout the state where it's not already implemented. So St. Louis would be able to keep its city elections here. What is this part about this regarding the primary elections here? Because I know that there's debate. Missouri has now gone to a caucus thing. I'm not particularly wild about how that's gone, but what would Amendment 7 have to do with the primary system?
So this makes no changes to how Missouri selects its presidential nominees. And so the reason behind this matter is places in like California, there are liberal billionaires. They know it's easier for them to influence elections in a top two jungle primary system. And so that's why this has to be addressed. So by forcing candidates of all parties into a single primary election, particularly when paired with ranked choice voting, the left can gain the system to benefit their preferred choices. And so that's why we need to keep party primaries.
Okay. So it's sort of a preemptive ban on the jungle primary.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because then, and if people aren't familiar with that, with the jungle primary, the Spencer's talking about means you can run as a Republican or a Democrat or a Libertarian or Constitution or Green or Space Alien, Spaghetti Monster, whatever party you want to run on. But the top two vote getters, regardless of party, are the ones who will advance to the general
runoff,
election
yeah.
in the runoff, as opposed to the top Republican, the top Democrat, the top Space Alien, Spaghetti Monster, whatever it is that you do there. So, so we've got that. So that is dealing with the statewide races, though. Like you said, that we could still debate the primary versus caucus, and that's a separate matter, if I'm hearing you right.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. Okay. Got it. All right.
It's nothing to do with the presidential process.
Okay, right. Which I've got so many thoughts on how to make that better, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. All right, so Spencer, we're talking about Amendment 7 here, Liberty Alliance. People may not be familiar with so many advocacy groups out there. What is it that, because I know you do more than Amendment 7, what is it that you're doing at Liberty Alliance regarding some of the other things affecting the state right now?
Yeah, so of course, we're obviously supporting the effort to vote no on 3, like you all and so many of your listeners. But just to give some context about Liberty Alliance, we're a conservative grassroots-based organization, and our message is very straightforward. We exist to advance the conservative mission, uphold and defend the ideals and values that make both Missouri and our country great. We're a group that's pro-law enforcement. We support tax cuts, less regulation. We support school choice. And we also fight back against anything that threatens our way of life, which as of late has been trying to stop the left from trying to overhaul our elections. So for all of you listening, we urge you all to vote yes on Amendment 7 because Missouri has the opportunity to become the first state to ban both non-citizen and ranked choice voting. So an opportunity for leadership across the country here in the Show Me State.
All right. We've tagged you on our social media, Spencer, but let's give out the website information because you've got a page directly on there about Amendment 7 itself. How do they get in touch? And they may have some questions they want to email you about or something.
Yeah, please go to libertyallianceusa.com. Again, that's libertyallianceusa.com. You can subscribe and join the fight. It's totally free. You'll get up-to-date news stories about things that are happening in the state of Missouri and as it pertains to these amendments that we're going to be doing work for. And so, again, that's libertyallianceusa.com. I'd love for you to subscribe.
All right. Thanks, Spencer. Appreciate the update, man.
Thanks, Spencer.
Thanks. Bye.
And I found out yesterday you have to put the USA in there. So there's a different Liberty Alliance website, but this is Liberty Alliance USA.
Right.
And then you'll find it, even though it is based on Missouri. All right, got some thoughts on this? Let's talk. 314-912-1019 on this post-debate Wednesday here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Well, there you go again, listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
The latest news.
We are fighting for our families. We don't ever want to see an automation pier put over here in the United States.
We're deeply concerned about the impact that a strike could have on our supply chains.
People of Iran should know Israel stands with you.
The Israelis decide to enter my land. The resistance forces are ready for a ground engagement.
Hurricane Helene ravaged North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida.
We're not talking about politics now. We have to all get together and get this solved.
1019 and 94.1.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
You know, my mom just moved. It's funny. I just got a text from my mom who literally is moving into her new home. What's this, Wednesday? Tomorrow as well. And moving is such a hassle. It is so stressful. It is, it's something I hope I never have to do again, to be really honest. But that's why you need people like Rodney and Jen on your side. Mike Ferguson here for the Walner home selling team with Berkshire Hathaway. Now, unfortunately, my mom didn't come to St. Louis. She ended up going to the East Coast, which, by the way, she just texted me and said, by the way, that, port workers thing, she saw some of the ships that were anchored outside there and stationary out there. So I asked her to send me some pictures on that.
Is she listening on the app?
Yes, she is.
Oh,
Yep,
nice.
She's listening on the app. And so, which means I'll try to not cuss as much. But in the meantime, though, I'm really glad that she and my brother were able to engage some professionals to help her with that move, because moving is stressful enough as it is. When you're getting ready to buy or sell a home right here in the region, you've got to call my friends Rodney and Jen Wallner. 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. And it's not just about, let me type in and, okay, you're looking for a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath with a garage. Fine. Anybody can do that. Even those people who just got their license and have the little magnetic sticker they put on their car. God bless them. But I'm talking about people who understand the market, understand the economic conditions, who understand that this is the biggest likely investment that you and your family are going to have. The number one way to build wealth in America is by owning your home, and with real estate for most people. That's why this is so important. There's a lot of people who get into real estate because, hey, I'm a good salesperson. I can do this. Rodney and Jen get into this because they will empower you to get the best dollar for dollar deal, which will pay dividends down the road for you financially. 314-810-SOLD. Here's my challenge to you. Give them a call. And by the way, I'm giving you their cell phone number, 314-810-SOLD. And just say, I heard Mike talking about you on the radio. I understand you're licensed in both Illinois and Missouri. Here's what we're thinking we may need to do. What are the options? They will give you their first impression. You don't have to sign a contract just to have a conversation or two with them. That's not how they operate. They have flexible commission plans. They have so many pre-approved buyers. If you're looking to sell a home, you may not even have to list it. And the way the economy is going, that is crucial. You need to call them today. But the other part about this is they are passionate about equipping you and your family to get the best deal, whether you're buying or whether you are selling. They have built a successful business, not just by being good at what they do, excelling over all other real estate professionals in the market, but by being good, trustworthy, honest people with integrity who fight for you and empower you to get that great deal. Give him a call today, 314-810-SOLD. Tell him Mike was talking about him on the radio, and tell him I said hi, by the way. I haven't talked to him for a couple weeks. Anyway, 314-810-SOLD.
Tim Jones here for my favorite St. Louis sports bar and grill experience, the go-to spot of Johnny's Hideout. Johnny's Hideout featuring over 40 big screen TVs to watch all the great games this college and NFL season. Awesome food specials every single day that I absolutely love. Bike nights, classic cars on Wednesdays, live music every weekend, and a fantastic time to visit the gorgeous Sunset Patio. Located just 10 minutes from 270 and Gravois, open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. onwards. All the information you need to know at jhideout.com. That's jhideout.com. Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge.
Need reliable auto service from people you can trust? Look no further than Western Tire and Auto.
For over 15 years, we've been your complete automotive repair center, family owned and operated, with owner Dean Cleathermes bringing 30 years of industry experience. At Western Tire and Auto, you're not just a customer, you're family. We promise 100% satisfaction, treating you with the transparency, respect, and honesty you deserve. Visit us in St. Peters or in Florissant. For appointments, call or check westerntireauto.com. Western Tire and Auto, your local automotive experts since 2008.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at newstalkstl.com.
We've got 30 what days until the election here?
34.
34 days until the election.
5 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah. And so we're in the final stretch. We just talked about Amendment 7. By the way, this conversation about Amendment 7 is going to be up on the News Talk STL podcast here in a few hours. So I would encourage you to send that out.
Yes.
If you haven't subscribed to our podcast already, this is one of the reasons I keep pushing this so much. Please just subscribe. You can subscribe to News Talk STL, or you can just subscribe to Mike Ferguson in the Morning. And what we do is, in addition to making each hour of the show available, if you want to hear it again or you missed it or anything like that, those specific segments, like we just talked with Spencer, those are available as well. And it's really easy. The platform that we use is really easy. Just I think 2 clicks and you can send it to anybody on text or email or anything like that. Whatever your podcast platform that you prefer, we're there. So just look up News Talk STL or look up Mike Ferguson in the Morning, hit subscribe. That's a good one because I think a lot of people are going to show up not knowing what these amendments and proposals are.
Oh, absolutely. There are going to be a lot of surprised faces as they're reading through the various petitions.
Right, exactly. And so we are going to be talking about Amendment 2. I believe it's going to be on Monday. But I'm trying to get the different perspectives on these between now and then so that you are equipped to make the good vote there. Amendment 3, obviously getting the majority of the attention when it comes to the amendments. And I've got, what do I have, about a minute and a half here. Tom. Hey, Tom, you're on News Talk STL. What do you think?
Good morning. Thank you for this information. I am a small business owner operator of 44 years. We just don't have the time sometimes to get the information. So I wanted to thank you for that. Amendment 3, I'm just thankful that you're doing that. Amendment 3, I'm worried about that. And I don't know what to do. I'm trying to figure out where I can get a yard sign, anything I could do. I've been walking around my neighborhood, talking to people. So,
Tom, and I'm only jumping in because I've got to get to a new segment here, but Missouri Life, Missouri Right to Life.
Yes.
That's where you want to go to look for the yard signs. And they've also got all the information right there that breaks down what the truth is about Amendment 3. You're not alone. This is going to be a tough fight, but if more people like you are doing exactly what you're saying right now, we've got a fighting chance on this. But I would connect with Missouri Right to Life right away.
It's MissouriLife.org.
MissouriLife.org.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan.
Yeah, you got it. Appreciate that. And that's exactly why we do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's precisely it. Tom, thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
I'm not a yard sign guy either, but I'm going to get a yard sign for this.
I'm seeing more no on 3 signs than I thought I would be seeing right now. I mean, we might have a chance, but it's got to be all hands on deck. You cannot miss election. You've got to get out to vote because I'm seeing some signs of hope on defeating Amendment 3.
I may vote early.
It could happen.
Are you ready to stand against tyranny, strengthen the conservative movement, and enjoy tasty barbecue? Don't miss the 4th Annual Missouri Young Republicans Freedom Fest Barbecue. Join us Saturday, October 12th at the St. Louis County GOP headquarters in Fenton. We've got an exciting lineup of invited speakers and mouthwatering barbecue. RSVP now at stlyrs.com. That's stlyrs.com. Presented by News Talk STL and Missouri Young Republicans.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo inviting you to join my band along with Somebody to Love, tribute to Queen, for an awesome night of music Saturday, November 30th at Diamond Music Hall. Join us as we kick off the season of holiday cheer with my band, Tony Colombo and the North County Sound Machine, featuring Katie Fitzpatrick, a tribute to Duran Duran, and Somebody to Love, a tribute to Queen. Support live local music and join us for a great party Saturday, November 30th at Diamond Music Hall. Brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Get your tickets now at diamondmusichall.com.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared? Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable, final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-8886. Or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. As storm survivors struggle to get the basics, a search goes on for the missing amid the devastation from Hurricane Helene. Sherry Brown lives in Augusta, Georgia.
It's awful. And we hadn't even been able to get out of our driveway. Our car is blocked in behind the tree. And it has been, we run around, we got coolers, we filled them with water, and that's what we use them for our water.
Today, President Biden will visit the Carolinas, while back in Washington, House Speaker Mike Johnson says Congress has authorized disaster relief funds for an immediate response.
Johnson noted a replenishment of the Federal Emergency Management Agency's Disaster Relief Fund was included in the 3-month stopgap government funding bill that Congress passed and that President Biden signed into law last week. Johnson's comments come a day after President Biden said that he may request that Congress return from recess to pass a supplemental relief bill, saying that his, quote, expectation is to ask for more money to fund Helene relief efforts.
And that's correspondent Bernie Bennett. Well, if you're looking for fireworks, last night's vice presidential debate might have been a disappointment. White House correspondent Greg Clugston in New York.
The tone of the J.D. Vance-Tim Walz debate was strikingly polite and respectful in the polarized environment of the 2024 campaign.
I've enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think there was a lot of commonality.
I think that Governor Walz and I actually probably agree that we need to do better on this.
But the friendly discussion did not shy away from sharp differences between the two campaigns on a host of issues, including guns.
We unfortunately have a mental health crisis in this country.
Sometimes it just is the guns.
Instead of aiming their attacks at each other, the two VP hopefuls went after each other's running mates. Greg Clugston, New York.
Out of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street, stock futures are mixed. While the Dow futures are down 67 points, NASDAQ futures are 18 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You just grin and bear it or bite the bullet when it comes to everyday pain? Don't. Try Relief Factor, a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free. It's developed by doctors. In 3 weeks or less, you'll know whether it works for you like it works for me. Try Relief Factor for yourself. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Hear that? The sound of adorable little birds in your garden. And if you were here, you'd taste the 2 sweet but tiny tomatoes you grew all by yourself. But you're not here. Because
Because your self-care happens when you're riding your motorcycle, protected by Progressive, on your way to the store for a pack of normal-sized tomatoes. So if you ride, switch to Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer, without getting your hands dirty. Progressive Casualty Insurance.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
There is some wow in this Wednesday forecast. It's gorgeous out there. After a chilly start in the 40s, we climbed to 74 this afternoon under sunny skies, just a light south wind. This air is really dry. 60s this evening before we drop to 53 early Thursday morning. 80s are coming back tomorrow afternoon, mostly sunny Thursday and a high of 83. I think those 80s are going to stick around all the way through the weekend, too. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Tony Colombo here for Zero Res, the cleaning pros we trust with our home, and the team bringing you a great offer for the month of October. Book a cleaning this month and mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus, you can take $75 off an air duct cleaning. Don't let the germs hiding in your home haunt your family. Call Zero Res now and take advantage of this scary good deal. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson.
We the people.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
It's not rocket science. Rocket science.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
I don't want to start off with a bunch of hyperbole on this situation with the port workers, the ILA strike that's happening. But we need to understand that this is going to trickle in and affect us in the middle of the country before too long.
Yes.
So I want to be accurate. I do think if this drags on for any amount of time, and we're talking days, week, 2 weeks, maybe, not that long, you are going to likely see the effect regarding increases in prices because of supply and demand issues. And we're talking most things that we buy, well, not most, but a huge amount of things we buy in this country are imported. And we're talking about everything from foods that they're going to stop ordering. I almost guarantee you there are foodstuffs from South America, fresh foods, bananas, things like that, that they've had to probably cancel orders because they're worried about it going bad in the ocean. So we're going to see that,
and not to mention the things that are already on their way.
That are going to end up being food for the fishes. But also a slowdown, a choke point in the supply chain, like we've experienced. But we've got a major impasse right now between the companies, the ports, and the unions. It is 8:06 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. Gabe Pfeiffer's here. Stel Ponticus is here, and so. A lot of this is coming down to the workers have walked off the job despite what would seem to be an incredibly generous offer. But what they're really afraid of is this automation, it seems. And we can pick a good guy and a bad guy. I know who I think the bad guy is, but what's the bigger picture here? We're now joined by Patrick Semmens. He is the vice president of the National Right to Work Foundation. And Patrick, really appreciate you being on the program here. We're talking tens of thousands, upwards of 45,000 dock workers striking for the first time since 1977. And they've just had a contract expire, and the 50% raise that they were offered was apparently not enough. But it seems to me that among the demands, the money is one part of it, but they really want to get a contract that prohibits the businesses from sort of adding new technologies. What's the big underlying picture we need to understand about this?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I think you're right there. That's the big issue, and I think the what this fight is really over. And of course, you've got this very bombastic, threatening union boss at the top of the ILA. But a lot of it is about automation, and it's about not the jobs today so much, but the future jobs. Union officials make money by charging every member dues payment. So they want more members, even if that's not necessarily what's best for, well, certainly not best for the ports, not best for, our country's economy overall, and not even necessarily what's best for individual members. I mean, there's a lot of, if you're a highly skilled person and you can run a crane and through automation can actually, triple or do 10 times as many containers in a day, your value to that company actually goes up. But that's not really what the incentive is for the union officials. They want every single worker and more workers, if possible, to come in. And they also want, of course, maintain their monopoly control over the ports. I mean, we've got this government imposed, they've got this government imposed power where they get to hold all these ports from Maine to Texas hostage all at once. There's been some attempts to get out of that system. We've seen hybrid ports pop up in South Carolina, in Charleston, in North Carolina, in Georgia, and yet they have used both the Biden-Harris National Labor Relations Board, and now they're trying to use this contract talk to wipe out those hybrid ports where they've got non-union workers working as well as unionized workers. They want to make sure every single job that exists in these ports is controlled by them, and that there's as many of them as possible, even if that's not actually what's best for efficiency or even what's best for its own members in many cases.
Morning, Patrick. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So this may be a little bit out of your wheelhouse, but I'm a tech nerd, so I like these things. Where do you think the dock workers are seeing the potential for this automation to kind of come into play? I know places like Amazon, they have now these automated these machines that will pull large containers off of really tall shelves and things like that, but you still have people in the loop. I'm just curious what sort of things are they're seeing on the horizon that's giving them particular consternation here.
Well, the U.S. ports are pretty inefficient compared to the rest of the world. So I think the best comparison is some of the very efficient ports in Europe, in Asia, where they can move a lot more containers and do it a lot more quickly and with less manpower. And so, it takes a lot longer to get these off. And I was joking the other day, I think if this union official thought that if Daggett, he thought that the ILA could do it, they would have every one of these containers, they would empty them out by hand because that would be the most number of jobs possible. But yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of technology that's evolved in the last few decades, and a lot of it's not being utilized in the United States, despite us being the leading economy. And especially when it comes to technology, we're developing it, but we're not necessarily using it.
Good morning, Patrick. Stal Ponticus here. Mike mentioned the previous strike back in 1977. I was fresh out of college back then. I do remember it, and it lasted, if I remember correctly, about 6 weeks, maybe 44 days, 45 days. Are you concerned that could happen again, where we might see a strike of 5 or 6 weeks?
It's certainly possible. I mean, that's what the Daggett, the ILA top official has been saying. I mean, he's made it clear he wants to cripple. I think that's the word he used. The entire country. He's saying, look, by week 1, you're going to be having shortages in fruits and vegetables and food. A couple weeks later, you're not going to have any cars to sell because the cars come in on these containers. Construction is going to shut down because we're going to run out of construction supplies. That's his threat, and that's what he's saying he's going to do. And there is a mechanism in federal law for a pause to try and sort of, all right, let's send everyone back to work and give a little extra time. But President Biden said on Sunday, he was asked about this, and he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I oppose Taft-Hartley, which is the law that lets him do that, and also the law that lets right to work exist in states. So, and frankly, the union has said, if they try that, we're just going to work so slowly that it'll be like we're on strike anyway. Now, that may be illegal. It is illegal, but that doesn't mean that they can't get away with it long enough to make a lot of pain. And I think also, look, they've timed this. They've got a presidential election, and they know that there's probably a lot of pressure behind the scenes on them to get this done. But it seems like this union official, he's willing to, despite being aligned quite closely with the Democratic Party. He's fine with using that leverage to try to get everything he can. And again, getting back to what we first said, not necessarily about the money as much, but about holding off any automation and technological advances that would be good for the U.S. economy overall.
Well, and to double down on that, Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about this at the White House briefing yesterday, and her answer was the White House's position is that the port businesses just simply should offer the wages that the union workers want. So they've all but said we are siding with the unions, which make it clear they're siding with the unions. We're visiting with Patrick Semmens from the National Right to Work Foundation. And just a couple minutes or so left here, Patrick. You've talked about the effect that this could have, and they understand the crippling effect that they could inflict on everybody else regarding the rest of the economy, not to mention during a holiday season, but going into an election season. So we've really got the recipe for possible chaos here, all over one labor dispute here. So when we hear about these union bosses like this Daggett guy and the ILA turning down a 50% proposed raise, 50%, 50% raised, it just makes it harder for me to buy into the, we're here for the working man and woman, and we're just here for the people who were middle class trying to get by, when what they're actually trying to do is intentionally say, we want to hold you back technologically. We don't care what the effect is on the rest of the economy. So it does show, I think, some need to address a lot of our not just organized labor and labor business policies in the country, but also maybe have that conversation about, is this really the same type of union environment that we dealt with when my parents and grandparents, my grandfather was a union steel mill worker in Chicago. I mean, these are not the same unions, and they're not accomplishing the same things. I mean, I think we need to be honest about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. And, I think every American, certainly most Americans, we want to see hard work rewarded, and we don't want employers mistreating workers. But yeah, no, when you look at this, I mean, this is not so much about this. No one's really alleging that here. A 50% raise being offered suggests that that's not the problem. This is about union boss power and the way that this country, I mean, look, in most areas of the law, we try to set it up so that, monopolies are a bad thing. We have antitrust laws and that sort of thing. And then when it comes to labor, we do the exact opposite. We have government enforced monopolies. I mean, the reason why the ILA has the power over every single worker at all these ports is because the federal government has granted them that. That is a function of the National Labor Relations Act, and it's been reinforced by the National Labor Relations Board, which has, I referenced it earlier, has said that bringing non-union port workers into these ports, as some of the states have done, they've hired their own state employees to do some of this work, and they said that's illegal for a state to do that. So this is a government enforced monopoly, and that's really what causes so many of the problems that I think a regular Americans looking at this and seeing, some of these demands that are being turned down, seeing their own prices going up at the grocery store as a result of this strike, maybe down the line seeing, construction needs to get done, not happening. Maybe their job is impacted because the supply chain is held up. And it's really, I think, a reason why we need to look more fundamentally at federal labor law, reorient it towards freedom as opposed to government enforced monopolies, which unfortunately is sort of the de facto setting today.
Yeah, it really is. All right. And I think there's a lot of information there, Patrick, that people did not know 10 minutes ago when we first started talking here. So if they want to find out more, they want to get in touch and see your research or your op-eds or perspectives on it, or just have questions, what's the way to do that?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're online at www.nrtw.org. So like National Right to Work, nrtw.org.
All right. Patrick Semmens, appreciate you giving us the update, because I really do think that unless somebody caves pretty fast, and doesn't look like either side's going to, this is going to hit pretty much everybody through most of the country in one way or the other within about a month or so.
Absolutely. And some of them quicker than that. But yeah,
exactly. All right. Well, we may reach out to you again soon, Patrick. Thanks so much for the update.
Glad to be with you. Thank you.
All right. 314-912-1019. Yeah. The government sanctioned monopoly aspect of it We a lot of times forget that. So when the government interferes and sanctions one side or the other in these dispute,
they're picking a side.
They're picking a side, and that takes the market out of it. Market's the greatest, most fair regulator that we've got.
Yeah, and the government is the worst offender of the market ever.
Precisely. Exactly. All right, going to update you on other things that are happening around the area and around the country. Got some thoughts? Let's hear them, though. See them on social media, and also give us a call, 314-912-1019.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
Before you blow us all.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up, get up.
Blue Oyster Cult is back live. Friday, October 4th at the Family Arena. With special guests, Tommy DiCarlo, a former lead singer of Boston, and Jason Sheff, longtime lead singer of Chicago. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office, located at the Family Arena, or at Ticketmaster. Blue Oyster Cult, the Roots and Boots Tour, 90s Electric Throwdown. With Sammy Kershaw.
That's my story.
Colin Ray.
Oh, that's my story.
And Aaron Tippett. Saturday, November 9th at the Family Arena.
There ain't nothing wrong.
Reserve seats on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office, located at the Family Arena, or at Ticketmaster. Roots and Boots Tour, 90s Electric Throwdown.
Dreaming of upgrading your outdoor space? STL Fenceworks is the choice for you. Our skilled craftsmen build custom fences from modern vinyl to classic ornamental, fitting your style and budget. Elevate your outdoor living with low-maintenance decks designed to relax and entertain. We choose only top-quality American-made materials, ensuring your project is built to last. Your satisfaction is our passion. With over 50 years of experience, custom designs, and exceptional customer service, visit stlfenceworks.com today.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. The city was booming. Unfortunately, St. Louis city streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline. St. Louis City Republicans believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican Pat Curtis, Farber Treasurer.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, what'd you think of that debate last night? We got time to do another round of hot takes on this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Also, Iran steps up its attack on Israel. Got the update for you on that. And the Blues wrapping up the preseason, preparing for the regular season. Time to dump some news, guys.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, 8:21 right now. Search and rescue efforts underway after Hurricane Helene goes through the south and goes through the southeast part of the U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas details what all of this is likely going to cost in the coming months and years.
This is a multi-billion-dollar undertaking in terms of the search and rescue and the response.
And this is one of those situations. This is one of those few things. This is what government is supposed to be for. This isn't a liberal versus conservative type of thing. There was another update on the confirmed number of deaths and casualties. My news copy here says 140, but I know we've gone way past that at this point.
Yeah, there was a recent lower Chiron on some news that we're kind of paying attention to that said it's now 160 plus.
Yeah.
And it's just going to keep going up. We told you that that's what's going to happen as the water recede and the rescue operations or recovery operations continue. And it's sad to see. These aren't just numbers; these are people who are going to be missed, and a community that's going to be devastated.
See, and that's why I hesitate to just do the numbers thing, because so many people in our industry think the number is the story.
Right.
The people are the story.
Absolutely.
Yes, the houses, yes, the infrastructure, yes, the roads, yes, the visuals. That's part of it, but the people are the story.
The reason why we care.
It's really, I always want to be really careful just to hedge that and say, this isn't about a number.
Lunch Lady commented on Rumble that she saw a story yesterday of one lady losing 10 family members in Georgia.
Oh my God. That's unreal. Oh man. All right. The vice presidential nominees had their debate last night. It was calm. It was civil.
Yeah.
It was very different than what we've seen in other parts of the campaign so far.
The tone of the J.D. Vance-Tim Walz debate was strikingly polite and respectful in the polarized environment of the 2024 campaign.
I've enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think there was a lot of commonality.
I think that Governor Walz and I actually probably agree that we need to do better on this.
But the friendly discussion did not shy away from sharp differences between the two campaigns on a host of issues, including guns.
We unfortunately have a mental health crisis in this country.
Sometimes it just is the guns.
Instead of aiming their attacks at each other, the two VP hopefuls went after each other's running mates. Greg Clugston, New York.
Okay, if you haven't checked in on the Rumble chat box today,
they're going in.
Jay Monty and who was he?
Corporeal Being.
Corporeal Being had a running talk about Tim Walz's comment there. He goes, sometimes it is just the guns. It was very spectacular. And for another 36 minutes, it's going to be available in that chat, because at 9:00, the chat box goes away.
Yeah, it disappears.
Scroll up and look at their responses to that. It was spectacular, guys. Very well done.
Well done.
All right. Iran launched missiles into Israel. At least they tried to, in retaliation for Israel retaliating and defending itself. Because that's how these thugs over in the Islamic terrorist camps think.
Yeah.
We tried to kill them. We killed them. They fought back and prevented us from killing them. Therefore, we're going to retaliate.
Yeah.
That's
how
they
dare
think.
you?
Right. Precisely. President Biden gave us an update on the U.S. response from that attack. He was speaking in the White House.
At my direction, the United States military actively supported the defense of Israel, and we're still assessing the impact. But based on what we know now, the attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective.
Okay, and Israel has begun, as we mentioned yesterday, a ground offensive into Lebanon. And they are going to continue that, because in Lebanon is where Iran's proxies have been able to operate freely within Lebanon. So Israel basically said, no, we're crossing your border and going after the terrorist.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
As they should.
Yeah, precisely. Okay, anybody looking for a job? St. Charles County actually supports first responders, just so you know, unlike some other communities in the area. And they are looking for people to support those first responders. The county is hosting a job fair today at the Missouri Job Center. That is in St. Charles on Harry Truman Boulevard. And it starts in about an hour and a half. It goes from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. once again at the Missouri Job Center. Among the jobs that they are trying to fill, 911 dispatchers, and they need to fill those positions ASAP. And also they're looking for corrections officers in St. Charles County. And then, of course, there's other jobs, Parks Department, Streets Department, things like that. So Missouri Job Center on Truman, let's see here, 10 to 1. You can learn more at the St. Charles County government's website. So just Google search that and you should be able to find that. All right. Former President Jimmy Carter turned 100 years old yesterday.
Yeah. He's the founding member of the Presidential Centenarian Club.
Yeah, the first one to ever reach that.
Yes.
So his grandson, Jason Carter, was on Your World with Neil Cavuto on Fox, trying to reflect on what he hopes his grandfather's legacy is going to end up being.
One of the great things about my grandfather is politicians from all across the political spectrum will tell you, I disagree with him on this, but he's a good man, or I do agree with him on these things, but not these, right? I mean, and we have the ability as Americans and as people to have those kind of conversations. It doesn't have to be vitriol all the time.
And of course, Jimmy Carter's administration, he was a one-term president, as I'm sure that you know.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's interesting. Some of the people say, look at his great accomplishment. He created the Department of Education. No, you blew that one.
Yeah.
The Camp David Accords were signed during his administration, which established diplomatic relationships between Israel and Egypt. So were they perfect? No, not by any stretch. But at the time, though, you can't really underestimate, or you really can't. It's hard to gauge this far down the road. That was a very important and very difficult thing at the time.
Yeah.
Yasser Arafat, who has since died and been planted firmly in hell. But that was quite an accomplishment at the time. The Carter administration otherwise really didn't have too much in the way of accomplishments. You had gas shortages and runaway inflation, but stagflation, malaise. Remember the malaise?
Oh, the
speech?
malaise, yes.
And the thing is with Jimmy Carter is he a nice guy? We're talking about him like he's actually still alive.
Yeah.
Sure. I suppose I've never met him.
Everybody says he's a nice guy.
He's done all that great work with Habitat for Humanity.
That's been, I think, the best of his legacy, right?
And I will say that I think he's been an excellent former president, because he wasn't a good president. I'm not trying to be snarky here, but he stepped back and didn't try to stay activist. He went back and lived in his modest home. Still went back to being involved in regular life.
That's what I want presidents to do,
right?
By the way,
and even though I suspect there's a lot of people listening who don't like him as well. But George W. Bush has kind of done the same thing.
That's true.
He's got a lot more money than Jimmy Carter had, but he's just stepped out, and you don't hear that much from him after that. And so I like for the former presidents to keep your trap shut.
Disappear.
You had your moment.
Yes.
Time for somebody else.
And he had a great marriage to Rosalind, 50 plus years, I
Yes,
believe. Might have even been 60 plus.
Who just died, was it this year? Late last year or early this year? She passed away as well. All right. The St. Louis Blues in preseason action lost to the Blues Jackets at Enterprise Center last night in a game. Of course, preseason doesn't mean anything. Final score was 3-1. Justin Falk scored the goal for St. Louis. The Blues are on the road on Saturday. I believe this is the final preseason game for the Blues, although the regular season starts this weekend. But the Blues still have a preseason game on Saturday, and that's going to be in Chicago against the Blackhawks. And then it's for reals.
Yes, for realsies.
For realsies. Going to be a little quirk here. The season, I forgot who plays in Europe.
Yeah, I can't remember who
but,
it is. But
the regular season starts, but a lot of teams still have one preseason game even after the start of the season.
Basically, there are a couple of European teams or a couple of teams that are going to play in Europe. And instead of making them preseason games, they decided to make them actually count. So that's technically the beginning of the proper season, but it really doesn't start for the rest of the NHL until later.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you've got one game left before the regular season and it's hockey, do you put your starting line out there for very much?
No.
Risk them getting hurt?
Oh, no.
No, you let them do one shift.
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, go get the guys trying to make the team. Go get the youth league who's practicing down the other side of the arena. Don't just protect your guys here. Just saying. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the Blues season. I think it'll be better than last year. Hopefully we'll get a playoff bound team this year. We'll see.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
There is some wow in this Wednesday forecast. It's gorgeous out there. After a chilly start in the 40s, we climbed to 74 this afternoon under sunny skies, just a light south wind. This air is really dry. 60s this evening before we drop to 53 early Thursday morning. 80s are coming back tomorrow afternoon, mostly sunny Thursday and a high of 83. I think those 80s are going to stick around all the way through the weekend, too. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
Governor Gavin Newsom banned voter ID requirements in California. I wonder why. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Donald Trump Jr. here. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back, but you can stop your losses by diversifying into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. That's SHELTER to the number 989898 to get your free info kit from Birch Gold now.
Message and data rates may apply.
Airports, bars, ticket will call, liquor sales, and R-rated movies. Those are just a few of the places you'd be asked to show an ID in California. But as for voting, no, that's oppressive. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law preventing local governments from requiring voters to present ID at the polls. This was done to prevent Huntington Beach from passing any voter ID measures, even though the residents of Huntington Beach wanted voter ID. California's AG and Secretary of State sued to invalidate it. The Democrat state senator who authored it, David Min, says voter ID requirements disproportionately affect low-income, elderly, and minority voters. He also told the LA Times that voter ID measures are based on fringe conspiracy theories. These snakes really think it's believable to claim poor people, people of color, and old people don't have identification and would be hard-pressed to acquire it. No one is buying that excuse. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Dive into adventure with Great American Divers. We're your local veteran-owned scuba center offering PADI certification courses, equipment repairs, and dive travel opportunities. From beginners to experts, we got you covered. Kids can join our SEAL Team classes, and we even host pool parties. Our experienced staff is passionate about teaching, and we're the only center in the area with our own indoor heated pool. Great American Divers on Central School Road in St. Charles. Visit greatamericandivers.com. Great American Divers, where adventure runs deep.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby. Only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh, no. It's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Mom and Dad worked hard all their lives. I hoped their retirement years would be easy, but as they got older, they needed help. So I called Right at Home. They're experts in navigating the aging journey and have a unique 5-step approach to in-home care. Right at Home created a custom care plan for my parents. Now they get support, and I have peace of mind. If your parent or loved one needs in-home care, call Right at Home St. Louis or visit athomestlouis.com.
Looking to enhance your outdoor space? Trust Limay Concrete Block, your local experts since 1947. From Vertiblock and retaining walls to ready-mix concrete and outdoor kits, we've got all your residential and commercial needs covered. As a family-owned business, we take pride in our A+ BBB rating and industry affiliations, with special discounts for military and first responders. Whether you're a homeowner, contractor, or distributor, make a decision set in stone. Call 314-638-9940 or visit our showroom today.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
They cover the important stories.
They're not going to stop Trump.
Close the border now. It just makes sense.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The
we
CBP
want to have
app has not been on the books.
Since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
Yeah, that was one of the rare. By the way, I was not playing 4 different audio tracks at the same time. That happened at the debate last night.
Yep. That was actually, I think, one of the best parts. That JD Vance.
Right.
He didn't have like a knockout punch like you'd want to see in some of these. Trump had that line against Biden. It's like I don't know what he said there. I don't think he knows either. That was
I think I called that the kill shot.
That was the kill shot, exactly. Yeah. But you want those in these debates just because they make for great sound bites. But this particular exchange, I think that was a big indicator of what was going on, the problems with the media, the problems with the Democrat Party, and the fact that you have to fight as a Republican just to get information to the people. And he showed that all of that while also exposing the Biden-Harris problems at opening up the border.
You know what? Keeping that in mind, Republicans need to figure out: do they want to stay with these biased moderators and these biased networks, or do they want to go looking someplace else where they can get moderators who who were actually fair and honest.
This was, if I were a gambler, I would put all the money in my pocket right now on a bet saying there will not be another debate in this presidential race, period.
Oh, no,
not going to happen.
not at all. No,
I think we knew that. And so
I'd almost bet the next presidential race isn't going to have these types of debates.
Yeah, they may not.
I wouldn't.
And if the debates were like last night's, if they were all like that,
in terms of the exchange, and both sides being able to give their opinion and respond to then I think it would be a real tragedy. But if they were like what we've seen in some of these other ones, where the moderators and the hosting organizations, they clearly want to drive the narrative, then we're not missing much else. I mean, we should have the debates, but then again, we, the voters, should be open to hearing the debates. And the reality is, we're really not. No.
What we want is somebody to say what our echo chamber tells us. That's really what we want.
It's supposed to be a debate. And there were two instances last night where they butted in, meaning the moderators, butted in. They should have just let JD and Tim discuss the issue and let it go for a minute or two. That would have been awesome. But no, they had to butt in and ruin it.
Okay, so let's get the hot takes in here. We got a little bit of time left here. 314-912-1019. That's the number to get involved. Who won the debate, or what was your takeaway from it? Now, I look at this. Here's the perspective I look at this, because I think a lot of people, whether you're on the left or you're on the right, you look at it from the perspective of, did my guy get those zingers? Did my guy tell the truth? Did my guy have better answers? Did my guy, really get them?
Look the best.
That's not how I look at these debates.
Yeah.
I look at the debates from who is more likable or attractive or influential to the voters. Now, I don't know that there are that many voters who have not decided between Harris and Trump. I mean, there may be some, but I think they're maybe deciding. There are some of those out there.
There are some,
because it's you've got far left fringe and then sort of populist center rightish. That's really what we're looking at here. You don't have you don't have a lot of overlap at all between the two campaigns.
Not really
on here. And so there are also people, I think, deciding, am I going to show up at all? And so you look at these two candidates, who came across as more likable, who came across as
more
knowledgeable, you could be more comfortable with leading on that. And I thought this debate, it was pretty clear to me. Tim Walz held his own. Now, that doesn't mean I agreed with anything he said, but from a way he was presenting himself to the public, to the voters, I thought he held his own very well. But I thought JD Vance absolutely was better in pretty much every aspect of that debate last night. To me, there's no question JD Vance won that debate.
I agree. I think he looked the best. I think especially as an introduction, because he started off very strongly, just acknowledging the fact that a lot of people probably don't know me, so here's who I am. And then he went on to his answers, and he continued to do so in a very articulate and well thought out manner. He explained all of his positions. He answered questions where he needed to answer them, and he also he managed to do two things at once that I probably haven't seen done very well, where he kind of steered the conversation in the way he wanted to go and still come back and answer the original questions. It's like, actually, I think what we really need to be talking about is this. Most candidates I've seen, when they do that, they're done. They're not talking about.
They don't want to answer the question.
They don't want to answer that original question, and they're not coming back to that original question. But he was willing to come back to the original question to answer it, just to alleviate the idea that I'm not dodging the question. I just think you've taken this in the wrong direction. Let me show you what we really should be talking about.
You're right. I want to go back and answer your original question.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right.
He did that multiple times, and I thought that was a kind of a masterstroke, especially in the way debates have been done of late.
I think one interesting point regarding Tim was the word salad he came up with surrounding the Tiananmen Square situation and whether he was over there. And boy, did he tiptoe around that issue and never really came out and said, I'm sorry, I lied about it. I did not tell the truth about being there. Sure, I was kind of close in Hong Kong maybe, but I was not in Beijing at Tiananmen Square when that tragedy happened.
That is going to be the one instance I'm going to give the moderators credit.
Yes, they
actually said, but you didn't answer the question. How do you account for that discrepancy? You said this, but this is actually what happened. So I will give them credit on that.
Yes.
Because they did follow up on that. And the thing is that Walls was, and you're right, still, it was a complete word salad. And it was rehearsed. It was basically, I'm going to tell a really nice story to endear myself to everybody else when I got called out for lying.
Yes.
And I thought he was successful in giving a very nice hometowny, sometimes I'm just a knucklehead and all that sort of thing.
And we visited China and we took kids from the
Basketball
school.
team.
And dancers and singers.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's a cultural exchange. We wanted to learn things and teach the kids.
And this is one of the areas where when I look at that, I'm like, he just got called out because he did not tell the truth. He doubled down on not telling the truth, now admitting that he didn't tell the truth. And so did he mitigate the damage in the eyes of the mushy middle voters? And unfortunately, I think he might have, because what they're going to remember is, oh, he was a coach. He worked hard. His community must like him. They keep voting him, even if voting for him. So I thought he was effective, even though I think he was full of crap on the answer. I think to a lot of the audience, I think that probably came across well, or at least not as bad as we see it, because we see him being full of crap. But if you're not a high information voter who's really tuned in, you would say, well, that's a nice guy. I guess that makes sense. I guess, we've all misspoke. And so I don't underestimate how that sort of storytelling can work. And this is what I meant leading up to this by saying he is a good debater. That doesn't mean he's right. Doesn't mean I agree, but he's a good debater. And he literally got called out for lying about something that big, and probably mitigated the damage in a lot of people's eyes.
That could be. And there were some other issues that surround that, because you had the Tiananmen Square thing. And then folks need to remember, you had the issues with stolen valor. You had the Chamber of Commerce thing where he said the award was a better one than he actually got. And that IVF situation with the fertility program, which is not what they went through. They went through the IUI, which is completely different. But he still zeroes in and says it was IVF.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, you're lying. It was not. So
well, he's also lying about the young lady who tragically died
right.
from, it's the left is saying that, she died because she couldn't access. No, she died from a chemical abortion.
Yes. She died from complications from a chemical
abortion literally killed her. And that's how they're gaslighting and running on this. And Walls played that up in a big way. JD Vance, I thought, had another moment that I suspect not a lot of other people may have picked up on. When Tim Walz, they were talking about guns, and that's where Tim Walz ended up saying, sometimes it's just the guns, which nonsense.
Yes.
But he said, my 17-year-old son witnessed a school shooting. I think it was a community center.
Yeah.
And JD Vance looked over, he goes, Tim, I did not know that. I am so sorry. God have mercy, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it seemed so sincere.
Yes.
And I thought,
so super endearing.
If that was a put on for the debate, it was acted Oscar worthy. But I don't think it was. I think it was very sincere. I think
it was real.
I think those two established a rapport, even though they're on opposite issues of most everything and just on differing parts of the scales on other issues. But I thought they established a rapport that came across well to the people. With the Trump Biden campaign, a Trump Biden debate, we tuned in because we wanted to watch the crash.
We wanted to watch the fist fight.
And we wanted to watch the implosion.
Well, that's true. We knew Biden was going to,
and we got it.
That's true. That's true.
The Trump Harris debate,
that was going to be I said fist fight. I meant slap fight.
Right.
The cartoon slap fight.
And I think with that one, because people wanted knew that there was going to be a spicy exchange, and there was. And on that one, I still maintain, and I know a lot of people disagree, Donald Trump got his butt handed to him in that debate. He just lost. He didn't prepare. Did Harris have the questions? I'm positive that she did.
Oh gosh, yes.
There's no question.
Yeah.
But for the voters, it came across that she salvaged and saved her ability to run a campaign by beating him in that debate.
She held serve.
JD Vance beat Tim Walz in that debate. But my guess is that people who watched or listened probably watched and listened far longer than you do in the other ones, because it really was an interesting exchange.
Oh, heck yeah.
And again, was Tim Walz, telling the truth and right about stuff and right about the role of government, right about policy? No, but that's what the debates are for.
I coming through this debate, having listened to it in the same way that I had to listen to the other ones, where basically I come through it after the fact. I find a video of it. I played at 1.5 speed. Through the other debates felt like a slog at some point.
Yeah,
There was a point in there where I was just like, okay, how far are we on here? You know, how much is left? How much do I have to get through? With this one, I was actually engaged through the entire thing. I was like, oh, we're at the closing arguments.
Right. Yep. All right. 314-912-1019. Got a few minutes left to get your take on this. Is this going to make a big difference in the race? I don't know. I doubt it.
Who knows what the middle undecided people are thinking, but maybe.
Yeah, like you said, this was introducing themselves to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you there's a lot of voters, even Democrats, who, when they heard that Tim Walz was selected as the vice presidential nominee, they went, yeah, wait, who? Who's that?
You know what? You mentioned the introduction part. You're absolutely right, because that's what JD did at the very beginning. He introduced himself.
Yes. Sure did. Yes.
Didn't even dawn on me until you just mentioned it, that's what he did at the very beginning.
JD Vance was exceptionally well prepared for this. And Tim Walz was well prepared.
Yes.
Just JD Vance was exceptionally well prepared. All right, still got time for your hot takes. I want to hear them, people. Let's talk.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. History, wine, spirits, food, and music, plus an awesome name. That's the Old House in Hog Hollow. This beautiful historic home's been turned into a wine bar and event venue that can host any and all of your gatherings. Take a tour while enjoying a glass of wine and see all the original features that are still around from the 1850s. Open Thursday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and brunch, with live music on select dates paired with wine tasting. Find them at 14319 Olive Boulevard in Chesterfield, or online at oldhouseinhoghollow.com.
Hey, want to amaze your friends when they visit? They will be impressed when they see your custom-made drapes, blinds, or shutters. Michael Proctor will personally help you pick out the correct colors to truly showcase your home. Then he will actually design and personally install everything. No overhead markup. That's going to save you a lot of money on drapes, blinds, or shutters.
Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
Are you ready to stand against tyranny, strengthen the conservative movement, and enjoy tasty barbecue? Don't miss the 4th annual Missouri Young Republicans Freedom Fest Barbecue. Join us Saturday, October 12th at the St. Louis County GOP headquarters in Fenton. We've got an exciting lineup of invited speakers and mouthwatering barbecue. RSVP now at stlyrs.com. That's stlyrs.com. Presented by News Talk STL and Missouri Young Republicans.
Hi, it's Dr. Randy Tobler, along with daughter Sammy Tobler-Gregory, a team member here at our family-owned Body of Health Direct Primary Care Practice. Sammy, what are patients telling you about their experience at Body of Health?
I can't tell you how many patients I've had come to me and tell me they just so appreciate getting to sit across the table with their doctor and chat about whatever's going on with their healthcare needs for however long they need.
Want to learn more about healthcare the way it ought to be? Schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
The Allman Report.
Hey, Wednesday on the Allman Report, we have our first Republican threatening to leave the country if Trump is elected. Ha, 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 good riddance. Allman Report, Wednesday, News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman, weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this dysfunctional radio station. It's The Right Mind Show with me, Todd Showalter, at 5 on Saturday. And, you know, speaking of dysfunctional, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Thanks, Todd.
We
love you.
We're only semi-dysfunctional here.
Oh.
We are a bunch of knuckleheads.
We're knuckleheads.
Three
You know,
knuckleheads.
I think we need to like have Jim do like a liner or imaging thing that the knuckleheads in the morning.
Oh yeah,
I think we should do that. Let's do that.
Absolutely.
All right. 8:52. Okay, interesting point that that was just brought up here.
Yeah.
Regarding this is why we don't have debates. Okay, so you look at the presidential race. We want the debates. Lynette's on chat box on Rumble was saying, I would have liked to have seen Kamala Harris actually debate other Democrats in this primary process. Well, and I just pointed out she did debate other Democrats in 2020 and Tulsi Gabbard handed her backside to her, and she wasn't going to do that again. But look, even in, for instance, in Missouri, you know, and we could go even on the Republican side. Donald Trump refused to debate other Republicans in that race as well. It would have been a liability to him.
There was no benefit.
Not for him. I
Right.
mean, there would have
Right.
been a benefit for voters,
Yes,
but not for him.
Yes.
But you look like, for instance, in Missouri, Mike Kehoe did not participate in the debates there. He ended up winning as well. He and Crystal Quaid have appeared together. There've been some forums and things like that. But the days of debates being as important to the campaign as they used to be, I think are over.
I think they're gone. Yeah.
I think that a true exchange of ideas and philosophies and what you think about how and telling people how you would approach leadership, that is incompatible with a social media era, a social media basically lifestyle that we have where we want our information right away. And if it's accurate, bonus. We want the hot take on the soundbite. We want the zinger. We want the gotcha, whether you're Democrat or Republican. And debates over the last 4, 6, 8 years have basically become farms for sound bites. And it's not about the debate. It's about taking them out of context on social media in the coming weeks and months.
And I actually think that that's part of, you know, the transformation of our standard debates, our debate model into that, I think is it stands in contrast to what people do online when it comes to other topics, where they'll listen to a 3-hour podcast, you know, of Joe Rogan just you know,
Jordan Peterson
talking with Jordan Peterson. Like that podcast, I think was like it was like 3 hours or something like that, and people like millions of views or something like that. So I think people are simultaneously hungry for that sort of engagement and information and all that, and they're prepared for it. They're prepared for the long form stuff, but the construction of the TV debate is such that it lends itself more to the soundbite machine.
Right.
It lends itself more to that. Even if it's an hour and a half, it's still quick topic, quick topic, and it's like. JD Vance, we can't have you explaining the process of how the new
border app,
the border app is causing problems. We can't have you talking about that. We have a lot of things to get to, so we really need to. No, in a long form discussion with him sitting on one side and Tim Wall sitting on the other side of a table with Joe Rogan in the middle. That discussion is had. That's actually turns out to be a 15-20 minute.
Would we watch or listen? I mean, so how much of this is our fault? I mean, a lot of it's the media's fault. A lot of it's the political establishment's fault. Is any of it the fault of us short attention span Americans?
I think we would listen. I think the Joe Rogans of America, the success of the long form podcast style, I think shows that we are capable and willing to engage that way, but the format has to be correct. I don't think cable news is capable of doing what Joe Rogan does, and I think that's the problem.
When you have folks doing a long form podcast, for instance, besides Joe Rogan, Megyn Kelly, Viva Fry, and others who get hundreds of millions of views for their particular podcast, I agree with you. I think people are hungry out there for something that they can really dive into.
Okay, let me ask a challenging question on that. Are people looking for a variety of perspectives to think critically and be challenged, or are we looking for the people who already agree with us and will reinforce what we just want to hear?
I think some of those folks who host those programs are the ones that are coming from a different perspective. So I'm not a Joe Rogan fan necessarily, but I do enjoy listening to him. In fact, I'm not a huge Tucker Carlson fan. His laugh drives me nuts. But I will give him a chance and listen to him. So I think there are ones that I will listen to.
I think to your question, I think there's a bit of both. I think there are a lot of people who like the podcast where we reinforce and we silo, but I think the Joe Rogan's shows that it can be a very wide variety.
You know who else has podcasts everybody should listen to?
News Talk STL,
which you should subscribe.
Yes,
find it on there. All right, Vic Porcelli coming your way here in about 6 minutes.
I hear American Viewpoints is pretty good.
I've heard that too. Thank you.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade